Welcome back to our journey through the fascinating world of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime's Light Novel. Let's continue from the last part, where we left.
In a white mansion, there was a garden full of colorful flowers. A young girl was smiling while a boy watched over her. It was a happy memory he wished to relive. He tried to recreate that happiness by building a magnificent city with a beautiful garden, but he couldn't find the missing piece, the girl he loved. Despite his immense power as a demon lord, he couldn't bring back her smile. Everything he did was for her, but she remained elusive. His name was Leon Cromwell, also known as the Platinum Saber, and he longed to find the girl he searched for. In the grand throne room of his palace in El Dorado, Leon confronted three suspicious figures kneeling before him, dressed strangely in all-black attire with wide hats akin to the weapons merchant Damrata. Tyr, the lone woman among them, calmly informed Leon that they couldn't fulfill his request for certain materials. This signaled the end of their negotiations, as they planned to follow Yuki's strategy and cease operations in the Western nations. With Maribel gone, the Rozzo family's power dwindled, and Tempest's alliance with the Council meant increased scrutiny. The group explained to Leon that summoning otherworlders was frowned upon by the demon lord Rimuru, making it difficult to continue their activities. As Tyr delivered her response, Leon wasn't surprised. He had anticipated this outcome, given the challenges involved. Despite organizing numerous summoning attempts with a team of over 30 summoners, success rates remained dismal, barely reaching 1%. Leon himself had failed in his attempts, with his last success occurring 66 years ago. Recognizing the slim chances of success with highly specific summoning conditions, Leon devised a new plan: incomplete summonings conducted more frequently. By summoning young children instead of the specific individual he sought, Leon hoped to increase the likelihood of success. Thus, his project expanded across the Western nations, aiming to gather as many children as possible through these incomplete summonings. As Leon addressed Tyr with a commanding tone, Tyr felt intimidated, struggling to maintain her composure in the face of his overpowering presence. Laplace, observing the tense exchange, explained the challenges in the East, where preparations for war hindered their ability to conduct business. Leon, unimpressed by Laplace's explanation, remained stoic, concealing his annoyance. Laplace, recognizing Leon's formidable strength, hesitated to provoke him further, despite harboring a desire for revenge. Committed to following Yuki's orders, Laplace refrained from any confrontations with Leon, acknowledging the uncertainty of the outcome if a conflict were to arise. Even with support from Tyr and Footman, victory was far from guaranteed in a confrontation with the formidable demon lord. As Laplace observed the situation, he realized the purpose behind their assignment from Yuki to understand their adversary firsthand. Maribel's downfall stemmed from underestimating Rimuru's strength, a miscalculation influenced by Yuki's manipulation. Although Yuki didn't guarantee Maribel's victory, he orchestrated the conflict to assess both parties' capabilities, ultimately leading to Rimuru's triumph and Yuki acquiring Maribel's unique skill. Recognizing the power of information, Laplace understood the importance of maintaining caution when dealing with adversaries like Leon, opting to prioritize gathering intelligence and expanding influence rather than engaging in direct confrontation. With their mission accomplished, they aimed to disengage from dealings with Leon to avoid provoking him further. Feeling the weight of Leon's gaze, Laplace tried to ease the tension by reassuring him about their future dealings and network for summonings. However, Leon questioned Laplace's loose language, prompting Laplace to wonder if he had made a mistake. Despite Leon's criticism, Laplace remained unfazed, believing that enjoying life was essential. When Leon questioned his motives further, Laplace realized that Yuki had predicted this outcome, putting him at ease despite his frustration. Leon, sensing Laplace's hidden intentions, suspected there was more to his words than met the eye, attributing it to a deeper scheme. Laplace, however, was merely following Yuki's instructions without ulterior motives. Revealing the existence of 5 children in Rimuru's care was part of Yuki's plan, strategically disclosed at the end of their conversation. Despite Laplace's apprehension, he continued to follow Yuki's orders, knowing his uncanny ability to predict conversations made him formidable. Detailing the children's names and their location in Tempest, Laplace and Footman navigated Leon's scrutiny, with Tyr offering an apology for any inaccuracies in transliteration. Accepting the information as adequate compensation for their halted dealings, Leon concluded the meeting, and Laplace and his associates departed from El Dorado with their payment. After Laplace left, Leon thought hard about their meeting. His golden hair shone as he looked serious. Arlos, his trusted friend, stood by him. Arlos wanted to get rid of the 3 visitors, but Leon wasn't sure. He didn't trust merchants much, but he knew people could help, especially to find strangers from other worlds. Leon decided to keep them around for a bit. He started thinking about what they said about the Eastern Empire getting ready to fight and how a big war might be coming. Arlos agreed and said they should get ready for any big trouble. Leon was the ruler of a huge place called El Dorado, full of magic and gold from a volcano. The city, El Dorado, was like a shining jewel protected by magic. Leon, its ruler, wanted to keep it safe from human wars. He ordered stronger defenses and security measures, but he worried about something worse than war: the awakening of dangerous creatures due to all the death. He knew John, a powerful being, slept somewhere in his land. If too many people died in a war, it could awaken her. This worried Leon, not because he cared about the people, but because it might harm the girl he searched for. He closed his eyes, thinking about deploying troops and protecting his land. But then he remembered a name that sounded like his friend's, Chloe Aubert. He couldn't ignore it, even if it was a trap. His main goal, after all, was to find and protect her. Somewhere in a fancy mansion, a group of shady people sat around a table. This was Cerberus base in the west, led by Misha the lover. After a woman brought tea and left, the meeting started. Yuki Kagurazaka listened to the report and smiled big. Everything went as planned, right? Laplace was nervous at first, but it worked out. Tyr and Footman made fun of Laplace, but he didn't mind. Yuki laughed, happy that Laplace stayed calm when he met Leon. Laplace looked sad and asked why he had to talk about the kids. Yuki was just curious to see how Leon would react to Rimuru taking care of the children. Kigali and Laplace got why Yuki was so careful. They guessed what Leon might do next, thinking he must have a plan since he wouldn't want to upset Rimuru just to get a few more fighters unless he had another agenda. Kigali wasn't sure Leon would do much just for a few kids. Yuki wondered if he messed up by telling about the war. They didn't think Leon would act, but they liked Yuki's smart plan. Tyr was upset about Leon caring so much about the name Scoey Colbert. Yuki thought it was no big deal, but Kigali and Yuki worried Leon was really after the girl Chloe. If that was true, they might have given Leon an edge by mistake. Kigali was upset because if Chloe was who Leon wanted, maybe they could have saved their friend Clayman. Tyr expressed surprise at the unexpected implications of her observation, leading to a discussion among the group. Yuki and Kigali, known for their scheming nature, considered the possibility carefully, while Laplace and Footman remained skeptical about overreacting. Despite the uncertainty, they saw potential benefits in the situation, viewing it as an opportunity to manipulate the demon lords and enjoy the outcome. With everyone in agreement, they decided to move on to another topic. Misha signaled for more tea as the conversation shifted to Yuki's updates. He explained his negotiations with Granville Razzo, the shadowy figure controlling the Western nations, focusing on the aftermath of Maribel's downfall. Yuki emphasized that he orchestrated Maribel's demise to regain his freedom and establish himself in the West. With Maribel out of the way, he could frame any previous actions as her orders. With his new power from getting avarice, Yuki needed to finish some things before going east. In the bustling city of Rimuru, life continued peacefully despite the mysterious disappearance of Maribel. The ruler of Tempest managed to navigate the situation diplomatically, smoothing things over with the kingdom of Seltrazzo to prevent tensions from escalating. Reflecting on Maribel's upbringing under her emotionless royal parents, Rimuru couldn't help but wonder how things might have been different had she experienced a more ordinary childhood. Meanwhile, concerns lingered about potential retaliation from the 5 elders, particularly Granville Razzo, but surprisingly, there were no immediate repercussions. Utilizing information from Suai, Rimuru identified the Razzos as the primary threat in the Western nations, but opted to avoid unnecessary conflicts, maintaining alliances with the Free Guild and the Western Holy Church. As a result, Tempest emerged as the leading faction in the Council of the West, solidifying its position as a dominant force in the region. During a calm afternoon, the nation held its regular meeting, feeling like it had replaced the 5 elders. This led to a heap of new issues. The Council of the West was crucial for uniting the Western nations, where the more representatives you sent, the more influence you had. With our rising influence, we became mediators, leading to a surge in complaints and petitions. Ruling isn't easy. Other demon lords likely didn't care about lands beyond their borders to avoid dealing with dissatisfaction. World domination sounds good, but ruling means addressing issues in each area. closing the gap between regions isn't simple. It requires redistributing assets fairly. As the leading faction, other nations seek payback. The discussion turned to who would represent them at the council. They needed someone with intelligence, charisma, and negotiation skills. Rimuru and Benimaru quickly declined, citing various reasons. Sawai, the intelligence gatherer, also opted out, as did Geld, who was already swamped with other tasks. This left Gable, who seemed like a sensible choice despite some reservations. He was deeply involved in a project training wyverns, so it made sense to let him focus on that rather than taking on additional duties at the council. Gable visibly relaxed, and Rimuru felt relieved not to pressure him into taking on additional responsibilities. Reflecting on the rapid expansion of their forces and the shortage of trained personnel, Rimuru considered other options. When Xian expressed interest, Rimuru immediately dismissed the idea due to her impulsive nature. He recalled a previous incident where Xian's aggressive reaction raised concerns, reaffirming his decision to exclude her from consideration for the council position. Life before, for example. Rimuru found Xian in the dining hall, where she proudly presented a cake she had made herself. Despite his initial hesitation, Rimuru accepted the cake, only to realize it looked nothing like a cake and more like a block of gelatin. Feeling a sense of dread, Rimuru took a bite and instantly regretted it. Trying to maintain composure, he decided to have a serious conversation with Xian about cooking basics. Xian, initially surprised by Rimuru's reaction, listened earnestly as Rimuru explained the importance of appearance and taste in cooking, promising to seek advice next time before attempting to cook alone again. After Rimuru's lecture to Xian, he reflected on her tendency to rely solely on her innate abilities rather than seeking guidance. Remembering Diablo's role in guiding Xian's tea service practice, Rimuru realized the importance of oversight in her growth. Recognizing the potential risks of appointing Xian as a counselor, Rimuru suggested Diablo as a more suitable candidate due to his intelligence and trustworthiness. Rimuru's council members agreed, acknowledging Diablo's abilities and suitability for the role. Despite potential reservations from Diablo, Rimuru hoped for his return soon to take on the responsibility. Until then, Rimuru would continue attending council meetings himself, eager for Diablo's eventual return. The conference ended smoothly, leaving Rimuru with some free time to visit Kurobe in his workshop. Upon entering, Rimuru found Kurobe examining a collection of swords and was informed that Kurobe had completed a project Rimuru had previously discussed with him. Although Rimuru couldn't remember the specific details, he quickly used his ability, Raphael, to assess the situation. It revealed that the swords were unique broadswords, indicating their exceptional quality. Rimuru was impressed by Kurobe's creation of a unique broadsword, although he knew Kurobe was capable of crafting many such weapons due to his exceptional skills. However, upon closer inspection, Rimuru noticed some unusual features on the sword. Despite its outward appearance of a regular weapon, Kurobe revealed that it possessed a hidden magic ability. Rimuru's excitement grew as Kurobe demonstrated how to activate the sword's magical transformation by inserting a glowing ball into its hilt. Rimuru was thrilled to see Kurobe had successfully crafted the magical weapon based on Rimuru's own idea. Despite Kurobe's usual modesty, his accomplishments spoke volumes about his skill as an artisan. Rimuru couldn't contain his excitement and praised Kurobe's work enthusiastically. Unlike Rimuru, who could apply magic effects easily with Raphael's skill, Kurobe had to rely on traditional methods like enchanting to imbue weapons with magical properties. Another method involved the weapon evolving over time through the user's magic force, which was the focus of ongoing research. Rimuru had contributed to this research by donating unique weapons found at the Amrita ruins. Kurobe had just created something groundbreaking, rendering previous inventions obsolete. The idea originated during a casual conversation with Kaijin and Kurobe over drinks. They devised a plan to craft a versatile magic weapon using sturdy magisteel as a base and external plug-in cores to generate magic. The result was a sword with slots for magical expansions, each filled with high-purity elemental crystals called element cores. Kurobe and Kaijin collaborated on the project, with Kurobe forging the base weapon and Kaijin adding the final touches. The research was aided by Giebel and Vester, who developed spirit cores capable of infusing magic stones with elemental forces. With these advancements, they could create element cores imbued with earth, water, fire, or wind elements, revolutionizing magical weapon crafting. These magic cores were disposable items. Once their magic ran out, they became regular jewels, but Kurobe mentioned they could be reused if returned to his workshop. Recharging them required an experienced magic user to infuse their own energy, so it wasn't something for amateurs. This could potentially create new job opportunities, with specialized workshops offering recharging services. However, Kurobe warned about the risks of experimenting with different elemental combinations, as it could unexpectedly change the weapon's properties. For example, inserting opposing elements could lead to unintended elemental effects. This required further research and development before considering mass production. Then, utilizing the labyrinth for testing seemed like a prudent decision. They could enlist the help of adventurers to try out the weapons and gather valuable data. Kurobe elaborated on the potential dangers of combining different elemental cores, cautioning that certain combinations could lead to explosive outcomes. Furthermore, he noted the rarity of crafting weapons with multiple jewel slots, emphasizing the advanced skill required. While their apprentices were still in the learning phase, only a select few had managed to forge weapons with even a single jewel slot. The successful creation of the 3-slot weapon left Kurobe brimming with pride. He confidently expressed his belief that with the right combination of cores, the weapon could achieve legend-class force. The concept of a magic sword capable of changing its element mid-battle defied common sense, presenting a remarkable advancement. Rimuru couldn't accurately gauge its value, but they recognized Kurobe's achievement as truly astounding. Based on their discussions, Rimuru decided to send core-compatible weapons to the labyrinth first and manufacture throwaway cores to scatter in the maze's treasure chests. They also planned to make those weapons into labyrinth boss drops once Kurobe's apprentices could produce them in bulk. Though crafting 3-slot weapons would be challenging, they aimed for quantity over quality to gather data on core combinations. Kurobe expressed some reluctance due to potential brittleness, but Rimuru believed the weapons would hold up for testing. They envisioned these experimental weapons being useful for parties without magic users and grinned mischievously at the idea of using customers as test subjects. With Kurobe's assurance of production, Rimuru looked forward to seeing these weapons become standard issue for high-ranking army members, expecting them to enhance their force's capabilities significantly. Now, it was all up to Kurobe to make it happen. In his chamber, Rimuru presented his straight sword to Kurobe, seeking answers. The sword, infused with Rimuru's magic force, suddenly began to glow with a dazzling array of colors, shocking both Rimuru and Kurobe. Rimuru explained the sudden change, expressing his own surprise at the phenomenon. Investigating further, Rimuru learned that the sword was now composed of divine metal known as crimson steel, shining brighter than orichalk. Rimuru received back the sword, now composed of a mysterious metal known as crimson steel, surpassing even the orichalk in performance. Visiting Kurobe for confirmation, they both marveled at the existence of such a legendary ore, long thought to be a mere fairy tale. Kurobe's excitement hinted at the remarkable nature of this discovery, exceeding Rimuru's initial expectations. Rimuru and Kurobe delved into researching the crimson steel blade, discovering its unique properties. Unlike ordinary metals, it only reacted to Rimuru's magic force, remaining dark when tested by Kurobe. Remarkably, it repelled all wavelengths and absorbed light entirely, making it impossible to analyze or assess. Its durability surpassed that of any other weapon, being essentially unbreakable and capable of self-repair through magic infusion. Rimuru planned to further enhance it by adding slots for elemental cores, allowing for versatile combat. Despite its incredible qualities, Rimuru credited Kurobe's craftsmanship for the blade's creation, contemplating its potential even against formidable foes like Hinata's Moonlight. Kurobe suggested that the blade might even surpass Legend class, possibly reaching the elusive God class territory, akin to Milim's Tema sword. Such a masterpiece marked a pinnacle in weaponry, with the expectation of further evolution to the highest echelons of power. Both Rimuru and Kurobe admired the sword's exquisite craftsmanship. The intricate Japan-style Hammond pattern, a testament to Kurobe's skill, adorned the crimson steel blade, captivating their attention. It appeared as a masterpiece of art, leaving them in awe as they gazed upon it. The beauty of the sword was such that they could have remained transfixed on it indefinitely. With each passing moment, Rimuru grew more convinced that he possessed a God-class blade, surpassing all initial expectations and filling him with boundless joy. Rimuru heard hurried footsteps approaching, and without a knock, Milim burst into the room in her usual impulsive manner. Despite her rudeness, Rimuru let it go because today was special. Milim was frantic, carrying an egg she had been guarding closely. The egg contained an avatar core, housing Milim's lifelong friend Gaia, and it was now glowing and pulsating, indicating it was about to hatch. With a loud crack, a tiny dragon emerged from the egg, much smaller than its Chaos Dragon origin. Rimuru recognized it as Gaia and witnessed an emotional reunion as Milim hugged the newly hatched dragon tightly. After Gaia hatched following Milim's abrupt entrance, Rimuru assumed Milim would return home. However, she surprised him by suggesting they go on an adventure with Gaia. Rimuru, anticipating this response, expressed concern about Frey's potential worries, as Milim's guardian. Milim brushed off the concern with laughter, indicating she had no intention of worrying about such matters. Rimuru attempted to advise her, but Milim confidently dismissed his concerns. Just joking around, Rimuru didn't object to Milim's adventurous plan. After all, he had finally found some free time after dealing with post-Maribel cleanup. Milim confidently asserted that Gaia needed hunting practice to grow, as dragons were apex predators. While they could survive on water and magicules alone, hunting and battling were essential for their growth. Rimuru agreed to the adventure, suggesting the labyrinth as the perfect training ground. With that settled, Operation Get Gaia Big Strong was underway. Before venturing into the labyrinth, Rimuru enlisted the help of Veldora and Ramirez, forming a team of 5 with Gaia included. Despite being a newborn, the dungeon provided a safer environment for Gaia's training compared to the outside world. Assured by their assurances, Rimuru led the group into the adventure. Gaia quickly proved her prowess, unleashing powerful breath attacks and controlling gravity with ease. Facing a formidable blood boar, Gaia's gravity magic slowed its charge, allowing Milim to deliver the finishing blow. The blood boar became Gaia's meal, marking a successful first day of training. Now operating as a seamless team, Gaia's gravity field skill complemented Rimuru's magic barrier, offering defense against both physical and magic attacks. As they progressed through the labyrinth, refining their battle tactics and nurturing Gaia's growth, they reached floor 49 where they faced their old foe, Bovix. Despite their excitement, Rimuru insisted that their efforts were solely for Gaia's development, albeit with a hint of enjoyment. However, their adventure came to an abrupt halt when Frey intercepted them upon their return. Challenged by Frey's straightforward reasoning, Milim found herself at a loss, realizing the importance of fulfilling promises and undergoing personal growth. Caught between Frey's firm stance and Milim's reluctance, Rimuru wisely chose not to intervene in the ensuing confrontation, recognizing the futility of defying Frey's unwavering truths. Milim's futile protests against Frey's firm demeanor only resulted in her being dragged away, her own fault for not communicating properly beforehand. Despite her promises to return soon, it seemed unlikely she would succeed in repeating the same act again. While she wasn't grounded, Frey likely restricted her visits for a while, understanding the importance of Milim taking breaks. Meanwhile, Rimuru took custody of Gaia, ensuring her safety in the labyrinth with her resurrection bracelet and abundant food. He planned to assist her training until she grew strong enough for Milim to take over. Unbeknownst to Rimuru, their party of 5 had gained a fearsome reputation in the labyrinth, rumored to be unbeatable when controlled directly, a fact he would only discover later. If they continued playing in the labyrinth while Milim was away, she would easily notice their avatars growing stronger, and she had a knack for sensing such things. Rimuru saw it as a risky situation, akin to playing with fire. So let's discuss some of the more important matters Rimuru had been dealing with. Rimuru had a big job, to make rules for working with the Western nations. As the boss of Jura Tempest, he made all the big choices. He let Rigard and others handle some work, but he had to okay the big stuff. Rimuru was in charge of making laws, judging cases, and running the place. Even though it was called a federation, he had a lot of power, like a king, but he shared work with his team. Rigard was setting up a government with 3 parts, and old goblin leaders were in charge of each part. The problem was, it was hard to tell who did what between making laws and carrying them out. Rimuru wanted to fix this by making 2 groups to make laws, one with people chosen for life and another with people voted in. The lawmaking group would make the rules, and the other group would put them into action and manage the country. Rimuru wanted to find smart people for these jobs, making sure they were honest and careful to keep things running well and avoid any cheating. Rimuru thought about putting wise elders from different groups in charge of running things, with younger ones helping the older ones. He hoped this would make things fair and bring everyone together. But it was hard to decide who should have more power, the strong or the smart ones who worked well with people. The strong ones liked being soldiers, but if the tricky ones got too much power, it could cause trouble. Running the country was a big job, like looking after money and building things, so they needed good leaders. It was also important for judges to be fair and only use the law to decide on cases. Rimuru had a lot to think about as he tried to make sure everything in Tempest went smoothly. Rigurd and Rimuru were working hard to develop a three-branch system. The legislature would make laws by listening to people's opinions, promoting transparency and governance. Rigurd and others were being trained for administrative roles, with plans to establish a law enforcement agency to strengthen core organizations' authority. Benimaru's military and Sawai's intelligence unit reported directly to Rimuru to avoid confusion. Rimuru also aimed to appoint a notable figure to lead the public prosecutor's office. However, there was a concern about the judiciary's vulnerability, as impartial judges could become targets. Rimuru preferred judges with both intellectual prowess and physical strength to defend themselves. Rugard, despite being competent, lacked physical strength, while Rogard was capable but currently occupied with other responsibilities. Transferring Rogard to the judiciary posed challenges due to his existing duties. Rigurd and Rimuru were busy setting up a new government with three parts. They wanted to make sure the laws were fair by hearing what people thought. Rigurd and some others were learning how to manage things, and they planned to make a police force to keep order. Benimaru's soldiers and Sawai's spies would report straight to Rimuru to keep things simple. Rimuru was looking for someone good to be in charge of the courts. But there was a worry that fair judges might be in danger. Rimuru wanted judges who were smart and strong enough to protect themselves. Rugard was smart but not very strong, and Rogard was strong but too busy with other jobs. Moving Rogard to be a judge was tricky because he already had a lot to do. Rimuru decided to visit the construction site of the new capital for the former Beast Kingdom of Eurazania to change things up. Geld, the overseer of the project, greeted Rimuru warmly and expressed gratitude for his visit. Rimuru observed the impressive progress, with sturdy magical-infused rock being used for construction, ensuring protection against magical attacks. Geld's leadership and efforts to address workers' concerns contributed to the project's success, creating a positive atmosphere at the site. Rimuru commended Geld for his effective approach in fostering collaboration and understanding among the workers, which ultimately led to smoother operations and progress on the construction. Many of the Magic-born working on the construction site feared mistreatment after the project's completion due to their past conflicts with Rimuru. Geld, however, reassured them by sharing his own experiences and emphasizing Rimuru's compassionate nature. He even recounted Rimuru's victory against the Orc Lord and the subsequent peaceful integration of the defeated Orcish armies. This helped alleviate their concerns, especially with the support of high orcs among the workers. Despite some initial skepticism, Geld's calm demeanor and inclusive approach won over the Magic-born, fostering a sense of unity and purpose among them. He rewarded their efforts regularly, boosting their morale and reinforcing their sense of value and contribution to the project. This approach proved more effective than coercion, as it empowered the workers and instilled in them a genuine pride in their work. Thanks to the cooperation of the higher-level Magic-born, our workforce expanded, eliminating staff shortages and significantly accelerating construction. The pace of work was astonishing compared to building projects in the human world, with everything accomplished solely through manual labor. The sheer strength and abilities of the Magic-born defied common sense. They effortlessly handled weights of several tons, pulverized materials with ease, and flew through the air without concern for safety regulations. Witnessing their incredible capabilities left me in awe, realizing why the construction progress was exceeding my expectations. The construction efforts were spread across 4 different locations: Dworgen, Inglesia, Eurazania, and Thalion, as part of a systematic plan to maximize efficiency. In Dworgen, a highway was already completed, with efforts now focused on widening roads for a dedicated Magitrain rail line and hiring adventurers for labor. Inglesia mirrored Dworgen's progress, with highway construction nearing completion and rail installation underway. In Eurazania, the focus was on expanding the highway while preserving the local ecosystem by utilizing cut trees for building materials. Progress in Thalion was slower due to the need to clear forest land, but high orcs were tasked with this job, using their unique abilities for transportation. Once construction in Eurazania finished, staff would relocate to Thalion to accelerate progress, initially focusing on clearing paths through the forest with plans to pave the highway and install rails later on. In the 4 regions, there were differing opinions about building a Magitrain line to the Dwarven Kingdom. Some worried about the Eastern Empire learning of the plans and using them against us, while others suggested focusing on military outposts instead. However, Fearing potential future conflicts, Rimuru decided against diverting resources to low-priority projects and opted to prioritize development. While remaining vigilant, Rimuru believed in crushing any threats swiftly rather than engaging in prolonged mind games. He emphasized the importance of protecting their workers above all else, recognizing that people were their greatest asset. Despite concerns about potential damage to their infrastructure, Rimuru was confident in their ability to rebuild and continue their rapid construction progress. On the last leg of his inspection trip, Rimuru visited the kingdom of Farminus, where Yom had already started laying the groundwork for a Magitrain line. Yom, supported by Muran, expressed great enthusiasm for the project, emphasizing its importance for securing foreign currency through crop exports. As the Queen of Farminus, Muran took an active role in policymaking. Rimuru met Rommel, who was leading the project on site, and received updates on the progress. Impressed by their detailed plans, Rimuru inspected the proposed route before concluding his visit for the day. Rimuru checked the progress of the Magitrain project in Farminus, ensuring that everything was on track. He instructed the responsible teams to recheck certain areas for any overlooked issues. Despite some initial challenges, Rimuru was pleased with the personnel's dedication and progress. He believed that allowing them to address the issues themselves would foster growth and skill development. With improvements underway, Rimuru considered accelerating construction and planned to deploy automatic magical generators for added safety along the highway to Blumund. These generators, reacting to magicules, not only ensured safety but also served as guideposts for travelers. Yom and his group warmly welcomed Rimuru. Yom, a bit tipsy, admired Rimuru's freedom to move around alone but was surprised to learn Ranga was accompanying him. Ranga, appearing from behind Rimuru, explained his duty to ensure Rimuru's safety. Edgar, the son of the previous king, expressed his willingness to serve the future ruler, indicating Queen Muren's child would likely inherit the throne. Despite Yom's jest about Edgar becoming king, Edgar seemed uninterested in such a role. This revelation eased Rimuru's concerns about potential succession issues. Rimuru was surprised to learn from Edgar that Queen Muran was pregnant, a fact Yom and Muran had failed to mention earlier. Despite the oversight, Muran reassured Rimuru that her pregnancy wouldn't weaken her significantly, given her human origins. However, Grukith seemed deeply affected by the news, prompting Rimuru to express condolences. Concerned about the Night Corps, Rimuru inquired about their status, learning that Raisin, despite his past, was now a valuable asset in Farminus, swiftly addressing any signs of unrest. Despite his reservations about Raisin's methods, Rimuru acknowledged his effectiveness in protecting the nation. Rimuru chose not to dwell on past conflicts and instead listened as Edgar described Raisin's accomplishments. It was enlightening to hear perspectives different from his own. He reflected on the notion that history is often written by the victors, realizing that if he had lost the battle against Farminus, he might have been portrayed differently. Nonetheless, he acknowledged Farminus' success under Yom's leadership, with skilled individuals effectively managing the nation and controlling media to improve Tempest's image. Rimuru credited Diablo's talents for the positive outcome, feeling pleased that things were going as planned as he enjoyed a cheerful conversation with Yom and others. While Rimuru was at work, Ramirez and Vildora were busy with their own project. When Rimuru returned, they excitedly greeted him, eager to share their accomplishment. They had successfully completed their test unit and were confident about its potential. Rimuru allowed them to show him their creation, curious to see their progress. Tempest had multiple research sites, including Kurob's workshop, known for its open-door policy. Most of their research was safe from theft, except for special weapons and armor. They aimed to turn Kurob and Garm into popular brands. However, they also had a classified facility within the dungeon, led by Gabble, where they conducted government-funded research. This facility included spaces for Ramirez, Vildora, and Rimuru himself. Another large facility was located on floor 95, repurposed from a park, hosting alchemists from Dworgen, sorcerers from Thalion, and vampire researchers from Lubilius. Each group brought unique talents, such as spirit engineering and sorcerous science, which aimed to harness natural phenomena and advance scientific understanding, though Thalion's research remained strictly confidential. After promising Luminous, Rimuru accepted the powerful vampires into their community, known as Overcomers. Despite initial concerns about their behavior, they proved to be curious and enthusiastic about learning new things. One particularly cheerful vampire was their main contact, eager to explore various intellectual pursuits. Although some vampires displayed arrogance, Ramirez and her servants ensured they behaved respectfully. The vampire's leader initially complained, but Veldora and Ramirez swiftly addressed the issue, leading to improved cooperation. Their research focused on physical engineering, aiming to understand the laws of nature without magical elements, a field Rimuru found intriguing despite Luminous's skepticism.
The research conducted by the vampires, despite being viewed as unconventional due to its lack of magical elements, held significant value for Rimuru in understanding the effects of magic. Despite Luminous's disapproval, Rimuru found their work intriguing and saw its potential for breakthroughs. With leading experts in various fields now part of their nation, Rimuru recognized the importance of securing their safety and ensuring the confidentiality of their research. To facilitate this, Rimuru provided special bracelets crafted by Ramirez, allowing unlimited use, resurrection, and enabling communication and teleportation within the labyrinth. These measures were necessary due to the looming threat of angel attacks on advanced civilizations, with Ramirez's labyrinth serving as a safeguard, potentially even being able to shift critical areas to safety if needed. On floor 95 lay Tempest's safest spot, isolated to prevent leaks and ensure the well-being of its inhabitants. This floor offered extensive services, satisfying the needs of anyone who utilized them. Meanwhile, the former main research site in the sealed cave had been closed due to declining magicule concentrations in the herbs. To address this, a section of floor 93's flower gardens was devoted to hypocute growth to encourage mutations among the weeds. With Gabel's lab already moved to floor 100, it made operations more convenient. The shuttered cave was now inhabited by wyverns, accessible through an expanded tunnel, classified as a military secret. Thus, top-level research was relocated to the labyrinth. Ramirez and Veldora guided Rimuru to this large-scale facility on floor 95, showcasing collaborative work. Progress on the test unit and related research was promising, with completion expected before the rail lines opened. Floor 95 had transformed into a forest city, featuring a townscape amidst a well-kept park, a testament to elven ingenuity and trained assistance, creating a delightful space. Only strong visitors could go into this special part of the labyrinth. Rimuru, who ran the elf club, didn't go there much in the daytime. He let Veldora and Ramirez change the area, and they made it really different from other places. Walking in the park, Rimuru saw a new research building and an old-looking place that used to be for visiting scientists. Veldora joked it was like a secret clubhouse, and there might even be a secret group of scientists there. Rimuru remembered how they shared all their research so no one would steal it, and to help countries and scientists work together better. So Rimuru decided to compile all the classified information into simple instruction manuals for everyone to access, using up valuable paper sourced by Yuki. Despite some initial complaints, Rimuru believed it was worth it to advance technology. Following this move, researchers became more open with each other, fostering collaboration and camaraderie. Ramirez explained how this change led to a sense of solidarity among the researchers, transcending national boundaries and even including the overcomer vampires as equals. However, Rimuru soon realized that this newfound community had evolved into an organized group, resembling a secret society, with Ramirez as the enthusiastic leader and Veldora in a position akin to a mafia boss. Despite feeling initially left out, Rimuru acknowledged the inevitability of this development and was intrigued to see what they had accomplished. With Veldora and Ramirez eager to share their progress, Rimuru couldn't help but feel excited to rejoin the group and see their latest innovations. In a big room filled with rails, Kaijin, wearing an odd lab coat, showed Rimuru a model train. The room resembled a giant train set, with mini mountains and tunnels. Kaijin explained that it was a test facility, thanks to the collaboration of many scientists in Tempest. Rimuru asked what powered the train, to which Kaijin answered, steam. Rimuru understood, knowing that currently, trains were pulled by horses along the highway rails. While it improved safety and traffic, it wasn't significantly faster than using carriages. There were ideas to use golems or monsters to pull trains, but those were just temporary solutions. The real goal was to develop engines, with steam engines being the top choice. But not the old-fashioned coal-burning kind. This was something combining magic and science, hence called a magitrain. It involved using magic to enhance the steam's power, requiring advanced magic technology. Magic operated differently from natural phenomena. For example, magically created flames could burn indefinitely. However, spirit magic, which borrows power from spirits, follows natural laws. That's why certain magic, like steam explosions, worked against creatures like Ifrit, whose flames obeyed natural laws, while elemental magic, rewriting laws with magicules, might not be as effective. In the past, Rimuru used inscription magic to heat metal and illuminate caves, but found it insufficient. Dold then innovated by applying elemental magic to directly convert magic energy into light, which proved more effective. This world's magic allows for skipping steps to achieve quick results, which hindered scientific exploration of natural phenomena. Rimuru realized that spirit-based magic, following natural laws, was better suited for scientific investigation, leading to the idea of spirit-based engines. Impressed, Kaijin showcased a steam engine based on Rimuru's description, explaining its versatility for various tasks. They simulated different environments to gather data for designing adaptable engines. Trainee eagerly explained their experiments, with Ramirez perched on her shoulder, while the vampire in the room nodded approvingly. The leader of the vampires was a cheerful but eccentric fellow, fully dedicated to research. Rimuru received a notebook filled with meticulous notes, all written on imported paper. To create their own paper, Gabil's team embarked on a trial-and-error process, quickly reaching a satisfactory quality level. Rimuru admired their progress and planned to commend them for their efforts. The notebook contained detailed research on engine dynamics, magicule requirements, and freight car stability, providing valuable data for designing full-size locomotives. After skimming through the notebook, Rimuru suspected that the theoretical groundwork was already laid out. Considering they had a working model, Rimuru thought it was time to construct a test engine. However, before proceeding, Rimuru questioned Veldora about the possibility of other test vehicles being built. Veldora confirmed Rimuru's suspicion with a grin, explaining the challenges they faced in automating power control within the engine using a magic circuit. Kaijin elaborated on the process, mentioning the difficulty in summoning spirits and the need for mid-level spirits like flame salamanders. Rimuru wondered if Ramirez was involved, given her expertise as the former spirit queen, as Kaijin prepared to demonstrate their creation. As Rimuru gazed at the impressive Magitrain Zero, Vesta proudly announced its completion, showcasing the remarkable fusion of their collective skills. Despite being in the experimental phase, it marked a significant milestone towards realizing Rimuru's dream train. Excitement filled the air as plans to test its durability and expand its features were discussed, with Vesta and Kaijin leading the charge. Acknowledging the challenges ahead, they contemplated harnessing electricity and developing capacitors to enhance the train's functionality. Although some technical aspects were beyond Rimuru's understanding, Raphael's translations of Earth's technical books facilitated progress, showcasing the benefits of knowledge sharing and innovation in their endeavors. As Rimuru hesitated, Kaijin invited them inside the locomotive to discuss further. Stepping in, Rimuru was surprised to find the interior illuminated with a soft light, prompting a question. Kaijin explained that they had delved into the books Rimuru provided on electricity, seeking assistance from the gathered scientists to understand the concepts better. Vesta mentioned their realization that they had misunderstood the distinction between spirit and elemental magic during their experiments, a revelation spurred by observing Ramirez's elemental colossus. While the colossus operated on spirit magic, Kaijin's team had attempted to use elemental magic to power a spirit core without success. So, the failed experiment with Kaijin's team resulted from an attempt to increase magic output, leading to excess heat without proper management. However, observing Ramirez's elemental colossus revealed a different approach driven by a primitive spirit core, sparking new insights for the team. With the assistance of the gathered scientists, they aimed to restore the colossus's abilities by analyzing the master core Rimuru created. Despite initial doubts, they realized that a slight misunderstanding had hindered their progress. Now, with a better grasp of magic core functionality, they could convert magicules into heat energy to power a turbine, generating electricity as well. When it comes to electricity, it's not just about high output. You need a power plant, a transformer, and storage batteries. They managed all of that with just a magic core. Plus, they could use magicules from the air or magic stones if needed, providing essentially endless energy in a rich environment. It was truly impressive. Though Veldora and Ramirez bragged, it was hard not to be amazed. Encouraging them to keep up the good work, Rimuru felt excited about the prospect of their nation having a train system soon. As they discussed holding a celebration, Rimuru agreed to host a big party at their favorite nightclub, looking forward to the festivities. Kaijin suggested setting up outdoor seating for the party, given the limited space inside. Rimuru agreed, deciding to host a staff appreciation event to thank everyone for their hard work. Any excuse for a celebration was good enough, especially with good drinks and company. As the festivities began, the staff expressed their gratitude, even the vampires enjoying the alcohol. However, when someone tried underage drinking, they were promptly stopped. In the dark realm, Diablo roamed like a wild creature. He was in the land of the dead, destroying demons with relentless force. Some tried to fight back, but to Diablo it was all just futile resistance. He showed no mercy, defeating every foe in his path. Demons could regenerate, but that didn't stop Diablo from unleashing his full power against them. With a sinister laugh, Diablo remarked on how much time had passed since his last visit. He sought out his old powerful allies, believing they could satisfy his master, Rimuru. Teleporting away, he left behind the defeated foes who underestimated his strength. Back to Tempest. After completing the inspections, they had a clear idea of their progress. The rail installation work seemed endless, with plans for 3 main lines, from the Dwarven Kingdom to Tempest, Tempest to the Kingdom of Blumund, and Blumund to the Kingdom of Farminus. They also considered a route branching south from Dworgen to Eurazania, passing Lake Sisiu, and planned a highway from the Blumund line to Thalion through the Kusha Mountains. Future plans included a railway to the ocean for cheaper seafood and a trunk line between Blumund and the Kingdom of Inglesia. However, completing the entire network would take time, and they still needed to develop more trains. With the test locomotive finished, they entered the trial and error phase to refine its performance and comfort. Led by Kaijin, a research team focused on addressing noise concerns and improving efficiency, while recording their progress for future reference.
When they started the project, they used the national budget to cover expenses, even adding a bit extra, despite Njolmil's disapproval. Visiting the project occasionally allowed them to bond with researchers and share their knowledge from another world. Raphael assisted with complex calculations swiftly. After work, they socialized, not just at fancy clubs but also in the city, discussing research hurdles late into the night. Despite the generous budget, most funds went into science and tech, with some allowances for socializing. Ramirez earned the highest salary due to profits from the labyrinth, while Veldora and Rimuru were paid equally from the treasury, with Veldora receiving additional allowances for his contributions. Despite this, Rimuru had other income sources and business interests, ensuring they weren't lacking financially. Motivated by everyone's newfound dedication, Rimuru decided to step up efforts, starting with fulfilling the promise to Diablo regarding physical body vessels. Ramirez assisted in this endeavor, also working on bodies for trainee sisters while seeking her feedback. Despite accepting the request, Ramirez expressed the need for more personnel to manage various tasks. Recognizing her workload, Rimuru understood the necessity. Ramirez had her own mission of crafting a new elemental colossus, with the core already complete. However, modifications and testing required additional manpower, with Kaijin occupied by the trains and Vester revisiting his armored soldier project. Rimuru considered involving Veldora but decided against it due to his unpredictable nature. Instead, Rimuru resolved to find someone else to assist Ramirez, contemplating potential candidates for the role. The days went by quietly until a pile of documents landed on Rimuru's desk, requiring approval. With Raphael's help, Rimuru sorted through them efficiently. Although it wasn't physically demanding, the monotony of the task wore on Rimuru, who longed for Diablo's assistance. Taking a break, Rimuru relaxed on the sofa in slime form, enjoying the softness and comfort. However, a knock interrupted the tranquility, prompting Rimuru to switch back to human form. Shuna entered, announcing a visitor named Dino, a demon lord from the Octagram. Rimuru speculated that Dino had come to check on things, recalling a previous mention of a visit during the Walpurgis meeting. Reassuring Shuna, Rimuru prepared to meet the visitor, confident that there was little cause for concern. Rimuru followed Shuna to the room where Dino awaited him. The castle boasted various rooms suited for different occasions, a practical arrangement. Upon entering, Rimuru found Dino sprawled comfortably on the sofa, displaying a nonchalant demeanor. Shuna quickly left to retrieve refreshments, leaving Rimuru to engage in conversation with the demon lord. Dino's relaxed attitude masked an underlying sense of caution in Rimuru's mind. As they exchanged pleasantries, Dino vaguely mentioned his visit being a fulfillment of a promise. The conversation paused until Shuna returned with tea and snacks, expertly managing the situation. In the ensuing silence, Dino revealed he had been expelled from Dagrul's domain, surprising Rimuru. He admitted his homelessness and lack of funds, seeking shelter and support from Rimuru's country after being expelled from Dagrul's domain. Rimuru, wary of Dino's intentions, refused his request and suggested he find employment. Dino protested, stating his aversion to working and reliance on others for sustenance. Rimuru remained firm, urging Dino to leave once he finished his snack. However, Dino's demeanor changed after tasting the food, offering to serve Rimuru in exchange for regular meals. Rimuru rejected the offer, prompting Dino to reveal that Guy Crimson had advised him to seek refuge in Rimuru's country. Though uncertain of Dino's motives, Rimuru pondered why Guy had directed him to Rimuru. Then hand over a letter from Guy Crimson, instructing him to take care of Dino. Feeling irritated but cautious not to antagonize Guy, Rimuru decided to accept Dino's presence, considering him for a role as Ramirez's assistant since she needed more staff. Despite his reservations, Rimuru grinned and offered Dino the job, emphasizing that he would have to work. Surprised by the sudden turn of events, Dino listened as Rimuru explained the responsibilities of the position. Rimuru explained to Dino that he wanted him to assist Ramirez, who was helping with a lot of Rimuru's work. Dino was surprised to learn that Ramirez was actively involved outside her labyrinth. Rimuru emphasized that any help Dino could provide would be welcome and then led him to their personal laboratory on floor 100. Despite Dino's initial reluctance, Rimuru remained optimistic about his potential contributions, reassuring him that he would likely just be following Ramirez's directions in his new role. As they made their way to the laboratory, Rimuru and Dino passed by Voldora's chambers, where Rimuru explained that Voldora lived there and warned Dino not to enter without permission due to Voldora's possessiveness. Dino expressed surprise at the friendship between Rimuru and Voldora, noting Voldora's disappearance from his detection. Rimuru clarified that Voldora had learned to control his magical aura, which used to cause disruptions. Dino was taken aback by this transformation, recalling Voldora's past reputation as a destructive force. Rimuru explained that Voldora had changed over time and was now more cooperative. However, Dino pointed out Rimuru's earlier remark about Voldora's selfishness, prompting Rimuru to realize his contradictory statement. Rimuru decided to change the topic, recounting the story of how he helped Voldora control his aura. Dino seemed impressed, praising Rimuru for his accomplishment. Rimuru then shifted to sharing anecdotes about dealing with Milim's selfish behavior and some of Voldora's misadventures, leaving Dino in a state of shock by the end of the conversation. Despite Rimuru's curiosity, Dino remained speechless, unable to choose which behavior was worse between the two. As they entered the laboratory, Rimuru was surprised to find Voldora and Ramirez working diligently. Despite his complaints, Voldora remained loyal, seemingly enjoying Ramirez's company. Vester, also present, seemed exhausted from his work on the elemental colossus. Rimuru greeted them and expressed concern for Vester's well-being, but Voldora interrupted, boasting about his contribution. Rimuru appreciated the help, especially since his research was kept secret due to its sensitive nature. He couldn't bring in researchers from other floors, as the project involved creating bodies for demons, which could be perceived as a military threat by other countries. Ramirez expressed the need for more assistance, prompting Rimuru to introduce Dino as a potential helper. Though Dino seemed reluctant, he agreed to assist. Rimuru then inquired about Vester's presence, learning that Ramirez had temporarily redirected his efforts to help with their project due to staffing constraints. Vester, though facing challenges, found fulfillment in the research despite his desire to complete another project. Vester expressed his mixed feelings about the situation, acknowledging the challenges but also finding joy in the research. Despite his initial surprise at Dino's identity, he quickly adapted, perhaps due to the many surprises Tempest had offered him. Despite his talents, Vester was visibly fatigued from the research. Rimuru ordered him to rest, recognizing the importance of breaks despite magical means of refreshment. With Dino available, Vester assigned him tasks, unfazed by the newcomer's status as a demon lord. Despite some initial hesitation, Dino agreed to assist, influenced by Vester's firm, yet encouraging approach. Observing their interaction, Rimuru decided to trust Vester to handle the situation without further concern. Now, the chamber was filled with incubation capsules, a fascinating sight indeed. Rimuru knew that generating monsters required specific conditions to be met. Simply filling a capsule with magicules wouldn't suffice. However, if another element was added that would enhance and manifest itself in the resulting monster, the outcome would be different. For instance, putting a snake in a capsule would result in its body melting and mixing with the magicules, transforming into a powerful tempest serpent. While some monsters born this way would collapse and die due to instability, many would thrive, their bodies refined and powerful. Rimuru planned to use these capsules to produce 1,000 demon bodies, expecting skeletons made of magisteel for bone golems. However, what he saw in one capsule surprised him, a result wholly unlike his expectations, demonstrating the unpredictability of the process. Now they have 1,000 capsules. Inside those 1,000 capsules, there were 1,000 bone golem bodies, each with unique modifications, notably featuring spirit cores in their heart areas. Ramirez, with a proud smile, revealed that she had added these cores to make the monsters stronger. While Rimuru initially thought the process was unnecessary, he admired Ramirez's dedication to enhancing their creations. Creating 1,000 spirit cores must have been tedious, but Ramirez persisted, even adding pseudo-souls to the bodies, inspired by Thalian homunculi technology. Vester, too, found Ramirez's idea compelling, acknowledging the value of such a large sample run for data collection, despite the time and effort involved. Examining the fist-sized spirit cores, Rimuru marveled at their quality and the unexpected results of fusing them with the crafted skeletons. The magical inscriptions on the frameworks allowed muscle groups to form over them, providing a unique perspective on monster development. Impressed, Rimuru acknowledged Ramirez's intelligence and expertise in spirit engineering, despite her initial appearance. Ramirez proudly claimed credit for the idea, highlighting her passion for sorcerous science and her deep understanding of physics. Rimuru acknowledged the difficulty of the handmade process and agreed with Ramirez's theory that the artificial hearts would enhance the body's magic energy absorption. Picturing the powers these bodies would possess, Rimuru estimated their rank to be high A, a feat made possible by Ramirez's dedication in preparing spirit cores and pseudo-souls for all 1,000 bodies. He felt she deserved recognition for her accomplishment. Several days had passed since Dino arrived, and Rimuru anticipated Diablo's return soon. Heading to the lab, Rimuru found Ramirez and Veldora discussing something heatedly. Ramirez proposed injecting magicules directly into the bodies they were creating, with Veldora agreeing, intrigued by the promise of a favor from Rimuru. As Veldora infused an incubation capsule with magicules, Rimuru observed silently. The capsule began to swirl with magicules, transforming the skeletal framework inside. Despite initial concerns, the skeleton appeared to come alive, exhibiting traits similar to Dragontide due to Veldora's influence. Ramirez expressed surprise at the unexpected outcome, highlighting the experimental nature of their work. It seemed their efforts had led to the creation of a new material with remarkable properties. Rimuru stepped in to stop Ramirez and Veldora from further damaging the capsule. After repairing it, Rimuru called for a break, offering coffee and snacks to Vester and Dino, who were working together on experiments. Dino initially complained about the interruption but quickly got back to work when threatened with being left without cake. Vester eagerly joined in the experiments, hoping they would help with his own project. Dino, despite his earlier complaints, seemed to enjoy the work, finding it more like play than actual labor. Rimuru observed that when work feels enjoyable, it doesn't feel like work at all. After taking a short break, Rimuru asked Ramirez why she was rushing to create complete bodies. Ramirez seemed hesitant, but Trainee defended her, thinking Rimuru was upset. Rimuru clarified that he just wanted to know the reason, not to criticize. Ramirez explained that she wanted to provide bodies for her fans, the Dryads, so they could have more freedom and power. Rimuru agreed to prioritize making bodies for the Dryads first, considering their needs and the current lack of personnel. This decision pleased Ramirez, who happily flew around Rimuru. Rimuru saw this as an opportunity to address the overall shortage of staff, especially with the labyrinth needing constant attention. They needed to establish a proper shift system to avoid burnout and potential mistakes. With these bodies, even the treants could become powerful creatures, able to navigate the labyrinth safely by possessing them. Rimuru suggested evolving Tria, Dorith, Alpha, and the others into Dryas-Doll Dryads like Trainee, offering them more independence. Trainee and Ramirez were surprised by the proposal, as evolving creatures into Dryas-Doll Dryads required a lot of work. However, Rimuru insisted, appreciating their help around the labyrinth and wanting to fulfill their promise to assist him. He planned to let each one decide whether to use the bodies he was making for Diablo or evolve into Dryasdal dryads with custom-made bodies. Trainee agreed eagerly, while Ramirez grumbled in jealousy, but Rimuru paid it no mind. After the break, Vester and the others resumed their work, with Vester expressing his fascination despite feeling out of his depth. Dino, eager to show he was working, led Vester out of the room, although it seemed like his first time putting in real effort. Meanwhile, Ramirez requested an assistant, prompting Veldora to chime in, asking for someone to keep him company. Despite the busy atmosphere, Veldora insisted, revealing a companion he had since his time in Rimuru's stomach, whom he wished to grant a body. It turned out to be the high-level magic-born Ifrit, surprising Rimuru with the request. Rimuru was surprised by Veldora's request to revive Ifrit, wondering how they became friends. Upon investigation, it turned out that Ifrit was inadvertently placed in the same space in Rimuru's stomach where Veldora had been isolated. Veldora enthusiastically expressed his desire to revive Ifrit, but Rimuru hesitated due to Ifrit's past allegiance to the demon Lord Leon and his potential to cause trouble. Despite pressure from Veldora and Ramirez, Rimuru was unsure about releasing Ifrit, fearing the consequences of awakening such a powerful entity. Rimuru expressed concern about Ifrit's loyalty to demon Lord Leon, but Veldora assured him that Ifrit was eager to help and had already shown cooperation by summoning flame salamanders. Seeing the potential benefits, Rimuru reluctantly agreed to revive Ifrit, with Veldora taking responsibility for his behavior. Veldora suggested using the empty husk of Charybdis as Ifrit's core, as it had been exposed to Veldora's aura, which Rimuru found reasonable. With Raphael's agreement, Rimuru proceeded with the plan to give Ifrit a body. Standing before the repaired incubation capsule, Rimuru observed the Magisteel skeleton transformed into Dragontite, reinforced by Veldora's excess magicules. Confident in Ifrit's capability as a higher-level spirit, Rimuru initiated the procedure. Ifrit's afterimage was successfully transferred to the core of Charybdis, and a soul vessel was created before fusing with the Dragon-type body. The process completed swiftly, thanks to Raphael's efficiency. Ifrit's new body began to transform rapidly, muscles forming over the skeleton as blood flowed through them, and the skin took on a dark brown hue similar to Veldora's. However, to Rimuru's surprise, Ifrit now appeared as a beautiful woman. Despite spirits not having genders, Ifrit expressed gratitude to Rimuru and Veldora for the restoration. Rimuru hesitated to mention the change in appearance but eventually asked about it, to which Ifrit attributed it to Veldora's influence. Ifrit's explanation hinted at some challenging experiences during their time together in Rimuru's stomach. Veldora claimed responsibility for the alteration, explaining that Charybdis's female nature might have influenced it. Raphael confirmed Veldora's explanation. Oh, so Ifrit's gender changed too? But it seemed like he didn't mind. He said the new body was much stronger than before. Ifrit seemed really adaptable, probably because of spending so much time with Veldora. Despite their history, Ifrit didn't hold any grudges and even regretted not resolving things with Shizu. We all sat down to talk about our future, and Ifrit shared his tough experiences with us. He felt a connection with us and was willing to serve Veldora. Ifrit admitted that while he still respected the demon Lord Leon, he now wanted to serve Veldora. Veldora trusted him from the beginning, so Rimuru decided to accept Ifrit as his assistant. He seemed sincere about it, and it felt like the right decision for everyone involved. Rimuru listened attentively as Veldora brought up another matter. What is it now? Rimuru inquired, anticipating more complications. Veldora explained the need to give Ifrit a proper name, as Ifrit was merely the term for his spirit type. While Rimuru understood the importance of naming, they both knew the risks involved. Too many magicules during the naming process could harm both the named and the namer. However, Veldora assured Rimuru that he could accurately calculate the necessary magicules and halt the process if it became hazardous. Rimuru agreed that Ifrit deserved his own unique name and considered Veldora's proposal cautiously. Raphael eagerly assisted, knowing Rimuru faced no immediate danger. With determination, Veldora declared Ifrit, "From now on, you shall be known as Cherries." Thus, Ifrit was renamed Cherries, a title derived from Charybdis rather than Ifrit itself. Despite any reservations, Rimuru stayed silent, trusting Veldora's decision. As Veldora channeled his magicules through the soul corridor, Cherries pledged his loyalty to his new master. With the naming complete, Raphael promptly halted the process to ensure safety. Cherries' evolution began, imbuing him with a significant increase in magical power. elevating him to the status of a Flame Lord. A Flame Lord? That's what happens when spiritual beings get physical bodies and take on a more demonic form. Veldora was ecstatic, thanking Rimuru for the outcome. Looking at Cherries, though, Rimuru noticed he was back to his original appearance from their previous encounter, now male in structure. Veldora, jokingly lamenting about the change, was actually pleased with the result. Cherries, formerly Ifrit, assured Veldora that he could change back to a female form if needed. Despite Veldora's antics, Rimuru realized he needed to be cautious around him. As Cherries tested his newfound power, he was shocked to discover his evolution into a Flame Lord. Rimuru empathized with Cherries, understanding the potential challenges he might face serving under Veldora's command, despite his immense power. With Cherries on board, the team had a new member, quickly integrating into their daily tasks and contributing to their productivity. Although Dino was initially surprised and concerned about Cherries' immense power as a Flame Lord, the rest of the team adapted to the situation without much fuss. Vester, in particular, urged Dino to accept the change and focus on working effectively with Rimuru and the others. Despite Dino's initial reservations, he eventually accepted the situation with the support of his colleagues, realizing the importance of adaptation in their line of work. Now Rimuru continued to create more Dryas-Doll Dryads by evolving the Dryads, allowing them to use their full powers even when far from their trees. Nearly 10 Dryads accepted the offer, eager to assist Ramirez despite lacking battle experience. Rimuru also crafted avatars for the Treants, enabling them to possess these bodies and work within the labyrinth. Although most Dryad bodies were female-shaped and Treant bodies male-shaped, gender was irrelevant to them, focusing instead on efficiency. With everyone ready to hop into their new bodies, Rimuru completed the task, regretting not doing it sooner. With the new help, Rimuru finally had some free time to spare. He responded with a jiggle of his slime body to Trainee's gratitude, considering it a small gesture compared to the hard work of others. Rimuru reminded everyone to keep up the good work and instructed Ramirez to inform him of any issues. However, his days were still filled with meetings with Rigard and Anjalmile, approving projects, and handling the criminal justice system and conflicts within his cabinet. Rimuru realized he needed assistance with bureaucratic tasks, prioritizing this need over his hobbies. Reflecting on his newfound workload, he returned to his office, acknowledging his increased dedication to his duties. A message awaited Rimuru about Diablo's return, accompanied by strangers. While he would have gladly welcomed Diablo alone, the presence of unfamiliar individuals required a formal meeting. Rimuru instructed the attendant to escort them to the reception room. Meanwhile, he asked another attendant to prepare tea, noting the nervousness of the staff around him. With Shuna was occupied with daytime duties, leaving Cheyenne to train Team Reborn in the labyrinth. Right now, Rimuru had 2 attendants assisting him, a pair of evolved goblinas who appeared quite human. Thanks to some cosmetics developed by Shuna, everyone around Rimuru seemed to look nicer lately. These attendants were top-notch, and they'd probably do well even with kings and princes from other nations, though Rimuru might seem a bit intimidating to them. All in all, Rimuru couldn't have asked for better help. So Rimuru headed to the next room, making sure it was sturdy enough, just in case. He wasn't sure what kind of people Diablo would bring along, so it was better to be prepared. When Diablo entered with a wide smile, Rimuru couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. Despite his friendly demeanor, Diablo always exuded an aura of wickedness. He introduced 3 young women as his acquaintances, but Raphael quickly corrected Rimuru, revealing them to be archdemons in disguise. Rimuru was taken aback by this revelation, realizing he still had much to learn despite his growing abilities. Among those who could summon powerful demons, summoning an archdemon was nearly impossible due to the immense sacrifices required. Just one archdemon could provide significant strategic strength to any army. Summoning them was usually reserved for large-scale rituals and national-level projects. Rimuru found himself with 3 of them on his sofa, alongside Diablo, who was also an archdemon. Reflecting on this, Rimuru realized he should have expected such extraordinary companions for Diablo. He marveled at their ability to disguise themselves so convincingly, noting that even a seasoned paladin would struggle to discern their true nature. Diablo grinned and praised Rimuru for seeing through the disguised demons, expressing his intention to bring more potential allies. Rimuru, although realizing it was Raphael's insight, acknowledged Diablo's acknowledgement nonetheless. Diablo mentioned having around 7 more candidates for collaboration, a fraction of the initial plan, considering the 100 bodies already allocated for the Treants. He introduced a demoness with no name, expressing her desire to join forces with her 200 followers and serve under Rimuru's command. She complimented Rimuru, revealing that Black held him in high esteem, which surprised her initially but now made sense. She appeared gentle and refined, belying her demonic nature, and earnestly sought to join Tempest's ranks. With a smile, the white-haired lady expressed her loyalty, which made Rimuru feel a bit embarrassed, but he brushed it off, considering he was used to such compliments from Diablo. The energetic girl with purple hair and a ponytail chimed in, offering her 200 servants and herself to Rimuru, while the dazzling blonde, despite Diablo's irritation, also pledged her 200 servants. Rimuru intervened to prevent Diablo from reacting harshly to the blonde's pompous demeanor, sensing that she was trying to be polite. With 3 girls each bringing 200 followers, Diablo aimed to add 600 individuals to his forces, intending to form his own army, which Rimuru found rather daunting. However, Diablo explained that each of these people also had 2 trusted assistants, making a total of 700 individuals, though he had initially hoped for 1,000. Rimuru reassured Diablo, agreeing to meet them regardless. Diablo expressed gratitude but suggested briefing Rimuru on how he recruited them, prompting Rimuru to inquire if it would take long, to which Diablo responded that he wished to keep Rimuru informed of his activities. Diablo started to boast, but Rimuru quickly intervened, suggesting they skip the speech as neither he nor the others were likely interested. Diablo seemed taken aback, while the demon girls chuckled at the prospect of Diablo going on and on about himself. Rimuru, feeling justified, urged Diablo to introduce the newcomers instead. Despite Diablo's disappointment, Rimuru stood firm, not wanting to show favoritism or be subjected to Diablo's lengthy talks. Diablo quickly suggested summoning the newcomers within the labyrinth to avoid any trouble in town, showing a newfound concern for Rimuru's efforts in maintaining the town's barrier. Rimuru realized how wrong he was to underestimate Diablo's consideration. However, it sparked a thought about the barrier in the capital, which was designed to protect humans from monster magicules and enforce laws against certain spells. Rimuru pondered whether any of the 700 newcomers possessed the power to break the barrier, knowing that Diablo's approval meant they were likely formidable threats. He understood that if Diablo considered them useful, they must be exceptionally dangerous. With Diablo's command, 7 demons materialized in the dungeon, followed by 700 others kneeling behind them. 6 of the 7 were archdemons, their full forms visible due to regulated magicule flow within the labyrinth. Among them was a greater demon, notably strong despite his clash with Diablo. However, Diablo saw potential in him. The focus remained on the first 3, each leading 2 archdemons of their own, suggesting special talents beyond magicule count. Raphael explained that demons with no lifespan accumulate battle experience over time, with categories of nobility based on age and experience, granting exclusive authority and power in the demon realm. Raphael explained that demons have limits to their growth, with archdemons being the highest tier achievable. Despite these limitations, demons can enhance their battle skills and establish superiority through factors like knowledge, determination, and willpower. Additionally, demons are categorized based on the era they were born in, ranging from prehistoric legends to origin, the very first demons. The strength of demons is evaluated by their lifespan, with those over a millennium old being classified as ancient and considered part of the ruling nobility. Observing the scene before him, Rimuru appreciated Raphael's detailed presentation of demon classifications. Armed with this newfound knowledge, he scrutinized the demons standing before him. Noticing that the first 3 demons seemed to hold significant authority, with the remaining 6 appearing as their subordinates, Rimuru realized they were likely ancient beings of considerable power. It was a sobering thought to realize he had formed bonds with such formidable individuals. Diablo's recounting of their eagerness to serve him after hearing of his deeds struck Rimuru as embellished, especially considering the battered appearance of the underlings. Despite their silent demeanor, they awaited Rimuru's orders with unwavering loyalty, ready to serve him faithfully. As the 7 demons and their followers pledged their loyalty, bowing before Rimuru, the sight of 700 prostrated demons was quite impressive. Diablo, observing with a smile, instilled a sense of unease in Rimuru, despite being an ally. Knowing Diablo was on his side brought a sense of relief to Rimuru, grateful for his support. As spiritual beings, demons need physical bodies to exist in the world, so Rimuru decided to help them out. Using Beelzebub, He consumed the demons and then used Raphael's assistance to merge them with pseudo-souls in incubation capsules, giving them bodies customized to their preferences. However, Rimuru wanted to give special treatment to the 3 demons who were friends with Diablo. He offered to alter their appearances to appear more human while keeping their beauty intact, which they gladly accepted. With his skillful hands and Raphael's calculations, Rimuru adjusted their looks without altering their bone structure, enhancing their bodies with orichalcum for added durability and beauty. Grateful for the transformation, the demons thanked Rimuru, who was pleased to see their happiness. Now, they just had to wait for everyone to wake up. Mission accomplished. As Rimuru conversed with Dino, Ramirez, and Veldora, their surprise at the arrival of Diablo's underlings was evident. Rimuru clarified the situation, explaining that Diablo had indeed brought his team of demons, prompting Dino's acknowledgement. However, Dino and the others were taken aback by the sheer number of demons present. Veldora remarked on the age of the 3 leaders among the demons, questioning if they were exceptionally old. Ramirez expressed her surprise, and Dino agreed, prompting Rimuru to confirm that the leaders were classified as ancients in the ruling class, indicating their age to be at least 1,000 years. This revelation sparked further discussion, with uncertainty arising about the accuracy of estimating their age. Raphael intervened, explaining that such estimates were subjective and could vary significantly, leaving the possibility open for them to be much older than initially presumed. It made sense being over 1,000 could mean being thousands of years old. Raphael wasn't wrong, but the exact age was hard to pin down. Rimuru joked about asking a woman her age, which Diablo found amusing. Rimuru shrugged off the importance of their age, focusing on their strength instead. Diablo agreed, emphasizing the quality of life rather than the years lived. Rimuru followed Diablo's lead, eager to move past the topic despite feeling a bit embarrassed. Almost forgetting his purpose due to Dino and the others, Rimuru decided to name the demons, sticking to the exotic car theme he started with Diablo. He chose Testarossa for the white-haired beauty, Ultima for the perky purple-haired lady, and Carrera for the blonde leader. Dino voiced concern about the casual naming, but Ramirez and Veldora didn't seem bothered. As Rimuru completed the body-claiming process, the capsules shattered, unable to contain their newfound power as demon peers. Dino marveled at their strength, comparing them to old-era demon lords. Meanwhile, Vester, who arrived later, nervously distanced himself from the situation, amusing Rimuru. With caution in mind not to exhaust his magicules, Rimuru limited himself to naming 3 demons per day. Over the next few days, he continued his naming spree, assigning names like Moss, Veyron, Adjura, Esprit, Zonda, Cyan, and Venom to the demons based on their strength. Testarossa's underlings were Moss and Cyan, Ultima had Veyron and Zonda, and Carrera had Adjura and Esprit, while Venom remained Diablo's favorite. Upon naming, the demons evolved, with 2 becoming demon peers and the others showing a newfound clarity. As Rimuru reflected on the sudden increase in power within his borders, he realized the need for individuals skilled in politics and economics among them. Despite doubts, he resolved to try and utilize their potential. With Raphael's revelation that the magicules in the capsules were enough for naming, Rimuru swiftly named the remaining 700 demons in just 2 days, fulfilling his promise to Diablo. Now, 700 demons knelt before Rimuru, having evolved from lesser demons to greater demons after receiving their names and physical bodies. Their newfound power placed them solidly in a ranked territory, presenting Rimuru with a considerable force under his command. Although some appeared to resemble archdemons, Rimuru chose to overlook this, opting to preserve his sanity by pretending not to notice. Testarossa expressed gratitude for her name and pledged unwavering loyalty, echoed by the others. Rimuru accepted, acknowledging their enthusiasm. Reflecting on the situation, Rimuru attributed it to Diablo's influence, believing he would guide them appropriately. Despite the irresponsibility of his actions, Rimuru chose to trust Diablo's guidance. As Rimuru was trying to avoid facing reality, Testarossa and the other 2 demon leaders conversed among themselves. They expressed their understanding of Diablo's admiration for Rimuru, highlighting how Rimuru perceived them as non-threatening and even caused an old demon lord like Dino to be frightened upon seeing them. Little did Rimuru know, this group had no intention of pledging loyalty to him. Initially, they were persuaded by their old friend Diablo to lend their powers temporarily. These demons had lived for a very long time, becoming the strongest in their world, just like the demons who served them. 2 of them were even considered prehistoric by humans, and they had never lost a battle in all their years. Moss, an archduke, was second only to the origin and had a flawless battle record spanning tens of thousands of years. Veyron, a crafty marquis, had lived for over 4,000 years and had been defeated by Moss multiple times, always coming back. The other servants were formidable too. Igera, a viscount with a 3-century winning streak, Esprit, also a viscount with a 500-year record, Zonda and Cian, both barons with similarly long undefeated periods. Igera preferred sword fighting, rare among demons, while Esprit, Zonda and Cian, like Veyron, had resurrected themselves numerous times. Venom, born with a unique skill, was still young but showed remarkable growth. Unaware of their true power, Rimuru casually named them, resulting in demons with unimaginable strength. They became known as the Black Corps, Tempest's most feared military, despite their small number, emerging as a symbol of terror when they were unleashed from their capsules. Testarosa's cheeks turned slightly red as she spoke quietly, finding Rimuru more intriguing than engaging in the usual struggles of destroying nations or fighting for territory. Ultima agreed, finding the prospect of working in Rimuru's country more enjoyable than the usual demon activities. Carrera expressed admiration for Rimuru's strength, recalling how Rimuru easily deflected her coercion and earned her loyalty. Diablo acknowledged Carrera's change of heart, knowing her intense personality well. Testarossa thanked Diablo for persuading her, admitting she had considered killing him before accepting his request. Diablo found Testarossa's interest in Rimuru intriguing, as demons like them rarely acknowledged anyone stronger. Testarossa and Carrera admitted they had planned to challenge Rimuru before Diablo intervened, showcasing their confidence in their own strength. Diablo rolled his eyes, slightly irritated. "I appreciate you not causing an embarrassing scene in front of Sir Rimuru for me, but if you were actually intent on trying that, don't worry," Diablo Testarossa assured him. "You take pride in your name, and just like you, I am tremendously proud of the name Testarossa that Sir Rimuru gave me. By that name, I swear my loyalty to him, and I am sure Ultima and Carrera feel the same way." Yes, as I said before, chimed in Ultima and Carrera in unison. Diablo shook his head, giving them a "what will I do with you" look. "Of course I doubt the other rank and filers besides you three will be of much use to Sir Rimuru... but so be it. I don't want you to cause me any more trouble, so I will expect you to follow Sir Rimuru's and my orders." "So be it, indeed. I must repay you for introducing me to Sir Rimuru. I'm in agreement, too. If I can help out Sir Rimuru and dispense of you as well, all the better. Until then, I will allow you to command me." Despite still feeling irritated, Diablo accepted their promises to heed his orders. He recognized their uniqueness among the few he could tolerate, and so unbeknownst to Rimuru, the chain of command was set in stone. This is the sort of conversation Diablo reportedly had, or didn't have, or whatever, as he gave Rimuru his report. Rimuru was trying to enjoy a little peace for a change, but well. And that is how we worked matters out. They are now under my command, but there's still no telling what kind of nonsense they might pull. I'm sure you have little to worry about from them, Rimuru, but regardless, stay on your guard. Alright, what was Diablo going on about? He's the one who brought them over here, but it was too late to rant and rave about it. Rimuru just wanted one day of peace and harmony in his life, and now it looks like he had more problems. And here he thought they had more allies now. Of course, Rimuru didn't have the slightest idea how true any of this was, and if they're under Diablo's command, they're all his responsibility anyway. What? What about the guy who appointed him? Gee, Rimuru didn't know who was that. So he decided to just toss the problem completely aside. Rimuru experienced an unexpected increase in his military strength due to the addition of new allies. He decided to discuss with Diablo how to utilize these demons effectively, involving Testarossa and other prominent demons for their input. Rimuru proposed assigning 3 key positions: a diplomatic attaché, a chief prosecutor, and a chief judiciary official. Despite the challenging nature of these roles, Testarossa and the others readily accepted without fully understanding the responsibilities. Rimuru felt uneasy but relied on Diablo to manage any objections, as he saw appointing trusted individuals as the most practical approach. Rimuru explained the role of diplomatic attaché to Testarossa, emphasizing her responsibility to represent him in the Council of the West and command the military during deployments. Despite Diablo's reassurance of Testarossa's wisdom, Rimuru remained skeptical. However, Testarossa displayed her knowledge by reciting Tempest's laws and identifying flaws in the current version. Rimuru hired her for the position, cautioning her against losing her temper during council meetings. Testarossa assured her readiness to serve and hinted at her ability to handle difficult situations discreetly. While Rimuru acknowledged Testarossa's talent, he also recognized the unique abilities of the other two demons he had yet to assign roles to. Ultima showcased her intelligence by swiftly reciting parts of the legal code, matching Testarossa's intellect. Carrera, emphasizing their race's commitment to contracts and expertise in finding loopholes, assured Rimuru of their dedication to fair judgment and resistance to bribery. Rimuru hired all three demon peers for important posts, anticipating significant contributions from them. With their appointments, Tempest was poised to establish itself as a model constitutional state. Rimuru acknowledged that these laws applied to everyone, including themselves, emphasizing the need to avoid involvement in bribery to prevent legal issues. Now that they had a constitution, Tempest joined the League of Nations with such laws. Ultima and Carrera diligently managed their departments, showcasing their abilities alongside their skilled staff. Ultima formed a close bond with Rugard, who was unaware of her true identity as a powerful demon, ensuring smooth collaboration. Meanwhile, Carrera, as Chief Justice, oversaw the newly established Department of Justice, distinct from the administrative office. Rugard, serving as Attorney General, supported Carrera, recognizing her competence despite any quirks in her behavior. With separate branches of government, checks and balances were in place to ensure accountability. Rimuru acknowledged that while no political system is flawless, they would address issues as they arose. Now, Rimuru needed to present draft copies of relevant legal codes to the council. He inquired if Testarossa was prepared for the task, to which she affirmed with Moss's assistance. Testarossa, exuding elegance, served Rimuru tea, surprising him with its exceptional taste. Diablo, observing the exchange, maintained his position of authority. Their dynamic hinted at a complex relationship, neither purely adversarial nor deeply friendly. Testarossa then provided insights into the reactions of other nations toward Tempest, sourced from Moss's investigations. Rimuru questioned the accuracy of the information, curious about Moss's methods and reliability. He sought reassurance from Testarossa before proceeding further. Moss possessed a remarkable ability to gather information worldwide effortlessly using small replicants, making him a valuable asset. Rimuru planned to pair Moss with Soai for intelligence work. Testarossa jokingly expressed jealousy over Rimuru's praise for Moss. Behind her stood Moss, appearing unassuming compared to the others. Rimuru questioned the reliability of the information gathered, especially considering recent events. Diablo then instructed Moss to explain the situation, revealing uncertainties about the intentions of nations to the north of Tempest and suspicions of plots by certain royal members from various countries against Tempest. Moss had the ability to eavesdrop on conversations, although the accuracy of the information gathered needed to be evaluated. Rimuru saw this as valuable for detecting suspicions early and taking swift countermeasures. But he entrusted Testarossa with handling this matter, emphasizing the importance of holding the relevant nation's rulers accountable without resorting to extreme measures. Despite Testarossa's unsettling demeanor, Rimuru believed it was necessary to test her capabilities. He stressed the importance of maintaining Tempest's dignity while dealing with rivals to avoid future harm. With this, Testarossa became Rimuru's new council representative. With the major problems resolved, Rimuru felt a sense of relief. Balancing responsibilities and appearing dedicated at work without overexerting oneself was the mark of a mature individual. Rimuru believed work should be enjoyable and strived to maintain a healthy work-life balance. Visiting the new school building, Rimuru aimed to foster interaction between human and monster children to prepare them for adulthood. By prohibiting child labor and encouraging play and exploration, Rimuru envisioned a future where different races and species could collaborate and learn together. In addition to children, adults were also attending classes to learn basic skills like reading, writing, and math. They recognized the importance of these skills in their daily lives and job opportunities, motivating them to study diligently. Observing adults working hard inspired the children to keep up with their studies. While basic math was manageable, literacy posed a greater challenge for Rimuru and Masayuki. Despite being fluent in conversation and reading, writing proved difficult for them. Rimuru had relied on Raphael's assistance, but without it, passing a basic literacy test seemed daunting. Although tempted to procrastinate, Rimuru acknowledged the need to address this gap in their education. Rimuru's children were thriving, especially with the addition of manga translated into their language, which became a hit among students. Kenya, known for his fighting skills and possession of the manga, gained popularity and acted as a leader among his peers. However, a clash with Alice, the class president, revealed underlying tensions. Despite Kenya's attempts to impress her, Alice remained unimpressed, and their bickering amused their classmates. Gale, the oldest among them, played a leadership role, ensuring conflicts didn't escalate. Amidst the playful banter, it seemed the children were still navigating the complexities of friendships and perhaps young love, but their smiles indicated no ill will among them. Rimuru decided to intervene in the children's playful antics when he knew Hinata would arrive later. Upon entering the room, Chloe enthusiastically greeted him, followed by Alice and another girl, Kumara, who surprised him with a hug from behind. Kumara, with her fox ears, had evolved into a human form after Rimuru named her and was now attending school alongside the other children. Although Rimuru initially didn't recognize her, he soon remembered her evolution and realized she must be under Hinata's care, just like the other children. Seeing Kumara happy and making friends at school reassured Rimuru that things were going well for her. The commotion grew louder as Rimuru entered the classroom, catching the attention of Kenya, Ryota, and the other children, who excitedly greeted him. Their enthusiasm drew the curiosity of other teachers, each eager to guide Rimuru or claim the honor of showing him around. These teachers, mainly retired adventurers and some recruited merchants, were paid by Tempest. Despite being inexperienced as educators, they played crucial roles in settling disputes and ensuring the well-being of both human and monster students. One particular paladin, Fritz, stood out for his dedication to treating all students equally, regardless of their backgrounds. As the chaos ensued, Fritz stepped in to bring order to the situation, demonstrating his leadership skills as he took charge of Rimuru's visit to the classroom. "You're teaching today, Captain Fritz," Rimuru asked. "AW, Sir Rimuru, no need for that captain stuff. Just Fritz is fine," Fritz replied with a smile. Rimuru suggested dropping formalities, but Fritz insisted, fearing dirty looks from others. Rimuru understood the situation, acknowledging the need for formality in public. Despite their informal conversation, Fritz appreciated Rimuru's understanding. Rimuru thanked Fritz for his help at the school, to which Fritz responded humbly. However, their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Hinata, whose cold tone made everyone tense up. Fritz tried to explain himself but struggled, emphasizing the importance of situational awareness as Rimuru swiftly left the scene. Then they entered the labyrinth, accompanied by Hinata, 5 kids, and Kumara. Upon arrival, they were greeted by Hakuro, who had become friends with Hinata. Hakuro and Hinata exchanged pleasantries, discussing recent developments. Hinata mentioned recruiting Testarossa to their group, causing some confusion due to the unconventional method of his naming. Hinata brushed off the criticism, acknowledging her lack of common sense. Rimuru expressed his intention to showcase the kids' progress, taught by both Hinata and Hakuro. Hinata emphasized the usefulness of the labyrinth for training, proposing a sparring session with Rimuru's replicants. Rimuru obliged, summoning a human-shaped clone for the exercise, exciting the kids eager to show their growth. Kenya and Alice, the strong fighters, took the front row, while Gale, more reserved, stretched out nearby. Ryota, though hesitant, seemed excited, showing some confidence. Chloe and Kumara, eager to join, expressed their enthusiasm. Rimuru suggested one-on-one battles, met with smiles from everyone. They were excited for the mock fight, and Rimuru didn't mind indulging them, despite knowing it might not end well. And so, they began their sparring session. An hour later, Rimuru was stunned by their strength. Kenya wielded his sword with the skill of a seasoned warrior, boosted by a light elemental spirit within him. Ryota showed agility and magical prowess with water and wind spirits. Gale defended expertly, using earth-based spirit magic like an impenetrable wall. Alice, nicknamed the Empress, controlled magisteel dolls like a master, launching them at Rimuru with precision. Her barrage of swords was relentless and unpredictable, showcasing her formidable abilities. If not for Rimuru's predictive skills, he would have been overwhelmed. With more training, Alice could rival even a paladin captain in combat prowess. As for Kumara, she unleashed her full power with a shout, transforming her 9 tails into powerful magical beasts. Rimuru was surprised by the strength of these beasts, each ranking over A and capable of overwhelming even a seasoned paladin. Their teamwork made them formidable opponents, potentially even able to defeat Fritz. Chloe, on the other hand, displayed remarkable swordsmanship and speed, posing a serious challenge to Rimuru. Despite facing 6 adversaries, she was the only one who forced Rimuru to get serious. Concerned about maintaining his dignity in front of the children, Rimuru refused to underestimate Chloe, realizing she had become a significant threat. It was a surprising development, making Rimuru rethink Chloe's capabilities and the seriousness of their mock battles. The boys praised each other's skills, acknowledging Chloe's remarkable swordsmanship as she outshined them in combat. Despite Alice's frustration, they all agreed on Chloe's prowess, attributing her effectiveness to her seemingly meek demeanor. They also discussed Kenya's stance, which they found to be manga-like but inefficient for traditional swordplay. Hinata, noticing Masayuki's influence, sighed but resolved to help Kenya improve his technique. Hakuro, less concerned with conventional methods, decided to guide Kenya based on what worked best for him. Meanwhile, Rimuru commended Chloe's skills, comparing them to Hinata's and Shizu's, and praised her natural talent, which even tough teachers like Hinata and Hakuro admired. Unsure whether to fear or anticipate her future development, Rimuru marveled at Chloe's potential. Hinata had called Rimuru to assess the children's progress and ensure they were on the right track. Despite their talent, they were still young, and Hinata wanted to prevent any missteps in their development. Rimuru agreed, acknowledging the importance of guiding them properly, especially since Shizu had a hand in their upbringing. As they observed the children spar with Hakuro, Hinata hinted at another reason for her visit, her gaze fixed on Chloe's exceptional performance. While all the kids showed promise, Chloe stood out for her extraordinary skill at such a young age. As the mock battle concluded, Hinata marveled at Chloe's abilities, emphasizing the importance of her contribution to the group's progress. Watching them train diligently, Rimuru understood why they were advancing so rapidly under Hakuro's guidance. Hinata then shifted to the main topic, mentioning Lady Luminous's enthusiasm for the music exchange program. Rimuru realized he had been delaying this proposal due to other obligations. Hinata expressed her surprise at Rimuru's ability to remember musical compositions, admitting her own inability to read sheet music. Rimuru felt a sense of superiority, despite relying on Raphael for musical knowledge. They discussed the logistics of transporting the orchestra to Lubulius, considering options like warp portals due to the barrier around Lubulius. Rimuru acknowledged the challenge of transporting bulky instruments, preferring to avoid horse-drawn carriages on unfinished roads to prevent damage to the gear. They contemplated future solutions like a train system, but focused on practical considerations for the present. Rimuru found himself longing for the dragon airships used by the Thalian Emperor for faster travel. While trains were enjoyable, air travel offered the quickest option. Appreciating Hinata's offer to assist, they began planning for a music concert trip to Lubulius. The children, overhearing the discussion, eagerly expressed their desire to join. Rimuru hesitated, considering the safety implications, but ultimately agreed to let them come along. Kumara, despite her responsibilities as the guardian of Floor 90, also expressed a longing to join. Rimuru reassured her and patted her head, recognizing the importance of preserving her childlike innocence while ensuring her safety, regardless of her form. The kids were thrilled at the idea of skipping school for the trip, seeing it as a special opportunity. Rimuru understood their excitement but insisted they'd have extra homework to do. He wanted to teach them about life's unfairness and toughen them up a bit. Chloe, the one who sparked the idea, seemed content just to be with Rimuru. Despite Hinata's slight disapproval, they settled on the plan: a joint music concert in Lubulius, musicians traveling there, and a group of children joining for the adventure. The group arrived at the Holy Empire of Lubulius, with the kids amazed by the unfamiliar sights of the city. Rimuru was accompanied by Diablo, acting as his secretary, and Xian, who joined them this time. Vildora stayed back in Tempest to oversee things in the labyrinth. It was deemed too risky to have him and Luminous, the ruler of Lubulius, in the same place due to their immense power. Despite their precautions, trouble seemed inevitable according to a Raphael's report. Rimuru reminded Hinata and the group to tread carefully, akin to avoiding a big mine in front of them. Hinata, acting as their guide, welcomed them to Lubulius and informed them of the upcoming dinner party and rehearsal schedule for the concert. Rimuru consulted Baton about the arrangements, and Baton expressed confidence despite the limited rehearsal time. Rimuru admired Baton's dedication and emphasized the importance of consistent effort leading to self-belief. Pleased with Baton's response, Rimuru nodded in approval, trusting in their preparations for the concert. That evening, Baton and his orchestra were treated like royalty, which made them feel even more nervous and awkward. They were given luxurious rooms with maids on standby and access to a spa-like salon, leaving them bewildered. The dinner party featured fancy, bite-sized courses served on spoons, impressing everyone, including the initially skeptical Kenya and the children, while Rimuru, with his bottomless stomach, could handle endless servings, the others struggled with the small portions. The orchestra, unused to such lavish treatment, felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Rimuru reassured them, highlighting the anticipation for their performance and encouraging them to enjoy the evening despite their nerves. As someone not performing, Rimuru found solace in observing rather than being on stage, urging the orchestra to relax and savor the experience. After the dinner party ended and everyone retired to their rooms, the kids were fast asleep, exhausted from the day's events. Alone in his room, Rimuru was contemplating taking a nap when there was a knock on the door. Luminous's maid, an overcomer, informed him of Luminous's invitation to visit her. Rimuru, accompanied by Xian and Diablo, accepted the invitation and was greeted warmly by Luminous. They exchanged pleasantries, with Luminous joking about Rimuru not bringing along the troublesome Veldora. In Luminous's chamber, they found Gunther, her elderly butler, and Louis, the Emperor of Lubelius. They noted Hinata's absence, explained by her human habits of needing sleep. Despite the late hour, Luminous welcomed Rimuru with a smile. Hinata's body, despite its transformation, still required sleep, a process that might take years to fully complete. Unlike monsters, humans couldn't undergo rapid physical changes, leaving her with some human traits that could be considered weaknesses. Diablo and Rimuru didn't need sleep, and Xian could function with just 3 hours of rest per session. Luminous, pleased with their visit, offered them an apple brandy pound cake souvenir, demonstrating thoughtfulness. She then discussed Granville's disruptive behavior and sought assistance to ensure the upcoming concert proceeded smoothly. Rimuru felt uneasy discussing such serious matters over cake and wondered why Luminous didn't inform Hinata instead, considering her expertise. However, Luminous reassured them of Lubelius's strong defenses against potential threats like Granville Razzo, emphasizing their preparedness despite potential vulnerabilities. Louis highlighted Granville's past conflicts with Luminous and his adeptness at concealing himself, posing a significant risk. Rimuru couldn't help but feel concerned about the situation, recognizing Granville's formidable strength and the potential danger he posed to Lubelius. Diablo's abrupt comment disrupted the conversation, prompting Rimuru to intervene and steer the discussion back on track. Despite Diablo's initial brashness, Rimuru managed to defuse the situation with a warning and an apology, ensuring things didn't escalate further. Luminous, acknowledging Diablo's concern, explained the reason for summoning them, highlighting the limitations of human evolution and the challenges Hinata faced in adjusting to her newfound powers as a saint. Rimuru couldn't help but admire Luminous's understanding and willingness to overlook Diablo's behavior, recognizing the importance of the information she was sharing. Luminous's decision to discuss Granville's strength in Hinata's absence hinted at a deliberate choice. Granville, having evolved from a hero's egg, possessed considerable power, potentially surpassing even Hinata. In this world, various types of heroes existed, some self-proclaimed and others recognized by the world itself. Granville's strength was akin to that of an awakened demon lord, indicating his formidable abilities. Luminous's assertion that Granville was stronger than the demon lord surprised Rimuru and her servants, underscoring the extent of his prowess. Despite not having directly confronted Granville, Luminous had assessed his strength based on their interactions, highlighting her intention to keep him under her control due to their shared objectives. Luminous reflected on Granville's past aspirations for peace, despite his recent betrayal and Maribel's demise. Granville had once fought countless monsters to protect human territories and promote peace across the world. Through their encounters, Luminous and Granville reached an understanding, leading to the establishment of peace in the West. Granville's influence helped create the Council of the West, fostering the growth of nations and the prosperity of their people. Despite his current actions, Luminous acknowledged Granville's role in the region's history and his underlying desire for peace, which had driven his past endeavors. Learning about Granville's past deeds, especially his role in securing peace for humanity, painted him as a legendary figure, despite his current affiliation with the Five Elders. Despite the shady nature of his recent actions, Granville's historical impact on ensuring peace for 1,000 years couldn't be denied. Luminous explained how various factions, including Lubelius, Thalion, and the Dwarves, benefited from Granville's efforts to safeguard humanity. However, despite his noble history, his current motives remained unclear. Luminous hinted at a connection between Granville and Yuki Kagorazaka, the mastermind behind previous conflicts, suggesting a deeper alliance between them. That's right. They might see this as their chance to strike, especially with Sir Rimuru away from Tempest thought Rimuru. Xian surprised everyone by joining the conversation, showing she was fully engaged despite appearances. Diablo, on the other hand, remained confident in their defenses, mentioning the protection provided by the Big Four. Rimuru felt embarrassed by Diablo's boastfulness. Nonetheless, Luminous remained focused on enjoying the upcoming concert, emphasizing the need to stay vigilant until then. Rimuru admired Luminous's ability to prioritize enjoyment amidst potential threats, considering it a lesson to learn from. With that, the midnight discussion concluded, leaving Rimuru with newfound insights. With concerns about Granville and Yuki looming, Rimuru approached the second day in Lubulius. They moved to set up equipment in the Grand Cathedral, a multi-purpose building serving both as a place of worship and a defense post. Rimuru delegated the task to the professionals, opting instead to take the kids for some hands-on social studies. After consulting with Luminous, Rimuru called upon Venom, under Diablo's command, for added security. However, Diablo had already made arrangements overnight, ensuring the orchestra's safety. Impressed by Diablo's efficiency, Rimuru marveled at his leadership skills, despite his heartless demeanor. With Venom's swift response, the orchestra was now well guarded by 100 high-ranked demons, leaving Rimuru reassured about their safety. Hinata showed Rimuru and the kids around Lubulius. It was different from Tempest, but still a good place. People there had a set way of life without much choice, but they were happy and didn't go hungry or hurt. The kids thought it was dull and didn't get why there was no school. Hinata said everyone did what they were told for the sake of their god and seemed proud, even though Rimuru wasn't sure it was fair. Rimuru thought they should be careful about changing such a closed-off place. Hinata liked how everyone was happy with their simple lives, and this made Rimuru and the kids think about what really makes people happy and how a society should work. Rimuru learned a lot and saw that Lubulius's way of life wasn't for him because he wanted more than just order. He believed that happiness is different for everyone, and that it's important to think on your own. Chloe noticed the same problems Rimuru did about how Lubulius depends on others to decide things, which made Hinata admit it wasn't perfect. Hinata wanted everyone to work together, but Rimuru knew that people are different in how fast they work and what they can do. He saw that what we want and what's real don't always match, but he still thought you should follow what you believe, even when it's hard. Rimuru and the kids ended the day thinking a lot. They learned that being happy isn't just about having stuff. Rimuru knew this, but today's lessons showed him that there's more than one way to live. Life is full of surprises and different paths, and Rimuru saw how important it is to enjoy now. As the day ended, he thought about how life keeps changing, and he felt good about not knowing what comes next but enjoying today. In Leon's domain, a land shared with the demon realms, an unsettling discovery unfolded. John, an ancient and immensely powerful demon known as the Original Yellow, had vanished. This revelation came as a shock to Leon, who initially struggled to believe Arlos's report. John's presence alone was enough to immobilize even the formidable Leon, rendering negotiation impossible. Despite lacking a physical form, John's capabilities were formidable, capable of unleashing devastating magic spells akin to nuclear-level destruction. Now, with John gone and the region overlapping with the demon realm sealed off, the situation became increasingly perplexing. Claude, the Black Knight, renowned as the strongest fighter in El Dorado, shared Leon's disbelief, expressing astonishment at the idea that someone could close the gates of hell, preventing John's influence. Demons have always caused trouble in this world. When John, who was the main problem, vanished, people felt a mix of hope and worry. The gates of hell, where demons come from, got sealed, making everyone wonder what's next. Knights tried to shut these gates, but the demons kept fighting back. These demons could come back to life unless they were totally destroyed, so they were a big problem for Leon and his army. Leon was strong enough to fight the demons by himself, but if John came back, it would be a tough fight. She was different from other demons because she didn't listen to reason, which made things even harder. Leon decided to keep things as they were, even if it meant trouble. But he was surprised when the demons suddenly stopped causing problems. Then he heard something worrying about 5 kids hidden in Tempest. There were rumors that Rimuru was planning to sell these kids because they had a lot of magic in them. Leon was shocked because he didn't think Rimuru would do something like that. He started to think that maybe someone was trying to start a fight, and Luminous might be involved. Thinking it over, Leon felt that the troublemaker was probably from the Western nations, which was a big concern but made sense. The Cerberus Society, Leon's mind raced as he considered the implications. Only the shady merchants and those involved in the summoning program knew about his collection of otherworlder children, and the report of their disappearance raised suspicions. Though normally demon lords avoided meddling in each other's affairs, Leon couldn't shake the feeling of unease. His advisors debated the situation, but Leon remained cautious, wary of making enemies without evidence. Despite his calm demeanor, anxiety gnawed at him, especially at the mention of Scoey Colbert. Resisting the urge to act impulsively, Leon grappled with the dilemma, torn between prudence and the nagging feeling that action was necessary. Though his loyal knights stood ready to follow his orders, Leon hesitated, uncertain whether John's disappearance was a stroke of luck or the precursor to something far more sinister. Leon's resolve solidified as he addressed his loyal knights, accepting their unwavering loyalty and entrusting them with the protection of their land. With a fearless smile, he declared his intent to personally intervene, signaling the beginning of significant events in the golden land of El Dorado. As the Platinum Saber, Leon Cromwell prepared to draw his sword and break his long silence, ready to confront the challenges ahead. Yuki's revelation about Leon's intentions sparked confusion and concern among Kigali and the others. Laplace and Tyr voiced their doubts, questioning the purpose of leaking sensitive information to Leon and potentially jeopardizing their relationship with Cerberus. Misha clarified that their actions were driven by Yuki's decision that they could no longer handle Leon, prompting Kigali to realize the true motive behind their actions. Footman, usually unquestioning, found himself alone in his unwavering trust in Yuki and Kigali, while the others sought understanding of their goals and motivations. Yuki addressed his comrades, acknowledging Footman's usefulness while recognizing Laplace's superior skills for success. Despite lacking grand reasoning, Yuki explained their recent actions, revealing that their decision to deliver classified goods to Leon was a strategic move to sever ties with him. He assured them that they wouldn't have interfered even if they had initiated conflict during the delivery. Their goal was to maintain their connection with Leon through the supply of otherworlder children, but with the Razos no longer able to summon them, they needed a way to end the partnership without implicating themselves. By blaming the Razos for the halt in the supply, they could maintain control over their business and potentially re-establish contact with Leon in the future if necessary. Tyr was confused about why they wanted to make Leon suspicious. Laplace understood they were trying to blame the Razo family for everything. Yuki agreed with Laplace and said his plan was to make Granville take the fall. Kigali thought Leon was careful and only suspected Cerberus because he didn't expect them to be childish. Laplace believed Leon felt safe and didn't see the Razos as a threat. Yuki warned that a member of the Razo family, linked to someone important named Cedre, was really dangerous. Knowing this, they all talked more, realizing the situation was tricky. In the northern region of Inglesia, there was an aristocrat named Cedre responsible for maintaining peace, supported by a mysterious protector named Razul. Despite his secretive nature, Razul's formidable strength was acknowledged even by powerful figures like Damrata. Yuki learned about Razul from Damrata, who considered him a significant threat comparable to Hinata. Razul's ability to maintain peace and his enigmatic identity intrigued Yuki and others, especially when they discovered that Granville personally named him. Razul's armor concealed not only his appearance but also his true nature, suggesting he might not be human, a fact unknown to some, including Kigali. This revelation sparked curiosity among the group, highlighting Razul's importance and mystery. Wait, so you mean Tyr's question brought the group's focus back to the main topic? Yuki explained that the Razos relied on Razul as their last line of defense against demons from the north, particularly those under the command of Guy Crimson. Razul's role was crucial in keeping the demons at bay, preventing them from encroaching into human territory. While everyone acknowledged Razul's strength and importance, they were puzzled about his connection to Leon. Yuki clarified that Razul's presence in the north made him inaccessible for Leon to confront directly, as he was under Granville Razo's command, and even Maribel couldn't influence him. Despite being aware of Razul's existence, Yuki hadn't utilized him in his plans due to the risk of provoking Guy's forces. However, with recent developments, Yuki saw an opportunity for change in the situation. Yuki informed everyone about his prior agreement with Granville regarding the god worshipped by the Western Holy Church. Kigali acknowledged this, mentioning Granville's decision to ally with Yuki after Maribel's demise. Laplace made a derogatory comment about Granville, which Kigali silenced. They then asked Yuki about the progress of preparations related to Granville's request, prompting a shift in the discussion towards Yuki and Granville's private meeting. Yuki told Granville about Maribel's death, explaining how she perished in a battle against the demon lord Rimuru. He chose not to deceive Granville further, wanting to maintain consistency now that Rimuru's suspicions had been cleared. Despite Granville's status as part of the 7 Days clergy, Yuki saw him merely as an elderly man driven by greed for power. With Maribel gone, Yuki felt confident facing Granville and his guards, including some other worlders. He openly discussed Maribel's death and his grievances about losing his free will under her control, deflecting Granville's inquiry about Rimuru's involvement. Granville's weariness showed on his face, surprising Yuki, who didn't expect such exhaustion. Granville hinted at Maribel's demise being a significant loss for the Razo family and mentioned a secret treasure she hid for revenge. Yuki feigned ignorance, prompting Granville to reveal the true identity of the god of luminism as the demon lord Luminous herself. Despite Yuki's assumption, Granville expressed trust in him, emphasizing his importance for the future of the Western nations. Yuki remained skeptical, especially when Granville spoke of eliminating Rimuru, citing a sixth sense as a former hero urging him to do so. Yuki found this reasoning irrational but listened nonetheless. Yuki paused, scrutinizing Granville, who claimed to be a former hero but appeared merely as an old man to him. Despite Granville's charismatic demeanor, Yuki couldn't see the strength that would surpass Maribel's. When Granville urged Yuki to assist him in defeating Rimuru, Yuki hesitated, preferring to maintain his current relationship with Rimuru. Granville dismissed Yuki's hesitation, emphasizing the need to act in the wake of Maribel's death and the uncertainty surrounding other potential allies. Yuki, however, remained skeptical of Granville's motives, particularly regarding a secret treasure capable of defeating Rimuru. Granville's mention of a secret treasure intrigued Yuki, especially when it was revealed to be the weapon that sealed away Veldora, the ultimate weapon protected by Lady Luminous. This revelation stunned Yuki, prompting him to reconsider his stance. Despite his disbelief in a demon lord protecting a hero, Granville insisted on their cooperation, citing the hero's unparalleled ability to combat evil in the world's great battles. Yuki listened carefully to Granville's proposal, intrigued by the idea of obtaining the ultimate weapon, even though he still harbored doubts. Granville suggested causing chaos at Luminous's cathedral to distract her forces while Yuki stole the ark containing the weapon. Despite his initial skepticism, Yuki couldn't deny the potential benefits of such a plan. He questioned Granville's motives but was convinced by his determination to defy Luminous. Recognizing the advantages of Granville initiating the attack first, Yuki agreed to the alliance, albeit temporarily. As they discussed the plan further, Yuki realized the significance of joining forces with the mastermind of the Western nations, setting the stage for their risky collaboration. Yuki briefed Laplace, Footman, and Tyr on their mission to infiltrate the cathedral during the Razos attack and secure the ark containing the ultimate weapon. He emphasized caution, urging them to avoid combat and prioritize gathering information. Kigali warned of the dangers posed by Luminous, stressing the importance of returning safely. Laplace assured his commitment to the task, while Yuki reiterated his support and the need for a defensive strategy. Yuki planned to observe from afar and intervene if necessary. With a grin, Yuki confirmed the plan's perfection after thorough discussions with Granville, realizing the seriousness of their endeavor. Recognizing the rarity of such an opportunity, he felt determined to seize the ark, which Granville claimed housed the hero who sealed away Veldora. Yuki intended to break any spell binding the hero and make them his own. The revelation shocked the room, emphasizing the ark's immense value and sparking excitement among the group, even causing Misha to blush at the prospect of controlling such a powerful figure. Understanding the gravity of their mission, Laplace and Footman became even more enthusiastic. Yuki, satisfied with their determination, turned to Tyr, revealing that they would have the support of Demon Lord Leon for their operation. With Leon involved, their mission took on a new urgency, especially since it seemed like chaos was imminent on the battlefield. Kigali suggested using Leon's presence to manipulate Rimuru into trusting them further, while Tyr was tasked with deceiving Rimuru about their intentions. Yuki emphasized the need for caution, knowing Rimuru's sharp perception, and instructed Tyr to confer with Granville before proceeding. As the sinister plans unfolded, the day of reckoning drew nearer. In a dimly lit room, Granville expressed his intent to strike not only Demon Lord Rimuru and Demon Lord Leon but also Lady Luminous. His eyes burned with deep-seated hatred as he spoke. Despite dedicating over 1,000 years to humanity's cause, Granville had faced countless betrayals and lost many companions along the way. Nevertheless, his unwavering spirit drove him to persevere, striving for peace within human society. While he once worked alongside the demon lord Luminous, his own efforts played an equally significant role in safeguarding the world's inhabitants. In the past, Granville shared his ideals with friends and made promises with those who had passed away, leading to the rise of Maribel as a beacon of hope for his plans. His ultimate goal was to unite the West with the East to confront the demon lords, as maintaining human society seemed increasingly challenging otherwise. With the formation of the Octagram, the demon lords' power became overwhelming, despite their reduced numbers. Guy Crimson allowed his demons to wreak havoc in the northern lands, while Earthquake Daggrel eyed territorial expansion into human territories. Granville also suspected the Eastern Empire of harboring non-human figures. Though he anticipated potential threats from the sleeping ruler, he lacked confirmation of their intentions. Granville, weary and uncertain of his remaining time, had protected humankind from formidable threats like the demon lords. With Maribel gone, he saw no worthy successor to continue his legacy. Without someone to guide them, he feared humanity would succumb to its own greed and internal conflicts, hastening its demise. His past, marked by the loss of his wife to human treachery, fueled his bitterness towards the world. Feeling robbed by life, he harbored a deep resentment towards humanity and believed it deserved its downfall. Granville's despair had consumed him, leaving him resolved to embrace madness as his guiding force. In a cozy gazebo overlooking a beautiful garden, the demon lord Leon and Elmesia Elru Thalion, Emperor of Thalion, had a meeting. Elmesia, with her long silvery hair and unique ears, welcomed Leon warmly. They were old friends, having known each other since Leon's hero days. Despite their closeness, Leon was serious, focused on their discussion. Elmesia offered pastries from Mr. Yoshida's boutique, attempting to lighten the mood. The attendant swiftly brought a cart with cake slices and matcha cookies as Elmesia offered treats to Leon. Despite not having a sweet tooth, Leon opted for the matcha cookie. He knew from past encounters that Elmesia was not one to be easily interrupted or persuaded. As they nibbled on the cookies, Elmesia astutely guessed the purpose of Leon's visit, mentioning Shizu Aizawa, which surprised him. Though irritated by her interruption, Leon proceeded to discuss his intention to extend an invitation to Rimuru to clear up misunderstandings and avoid him as an enemy, acknowledging Rimuru's potential danger. Leon didn't enjoy being manipulated, especially by Elmesia, who always seemed to have the upper hand in their conversations. When Elmesia questioned if Leon could defeat Rimuru, he brushed off the challenge, emphasizing the futility of antagonizing Rimuru. Recognizing the potential benefits of befriending Rimuru, Elmesia suggested making overtures towards him to avoid conflict between their domains. Despite his irritation, Leon agreed and inquired about Rimuru's children, only to be met with diversion as Elmesia praised the cake. Frustrated, Leon realized why he had been reluctant to visit Elmesia, but he knew it was not the time for complaints. Leon took a risk by directly asking Elmesia about Chloe, knowing she could deceive him. Despite this, he valued their friendship and decided to confide in her. Elmesia signaled her willingness to cooperate, prompting them to exchange information. Leon learned that Rimuru had custody of Chloe, the girl he had been searching for. Surprised, he asked if Elmesia knew this all along, prompting her to tease him about his reserved nature and past with Shizu. Leon admitted his willingness to sacrifice his reputation to rescue Chloe, acknowledging that his path as a former hero had led him to make difficult choices without justification. This was the code he lived by, unwavering in his determination. Elmesia teased Leon about Chloe, warning him not to let her hate him too. Leon, feeling drained, acknowledged Elmesia's extensive knowledge and feared her political influence. She informed him about investigations into various factions, highlighting the Razzo's aggressive actions toward Lubelius and the imminent conflict. Leon realized that Guy's demons could escalate the situation, posing a grave threat to humankind. Despite the danger, he understood the urgency of stopping Guy's underlings to prevent catastrophe in the Western nations. Elmesia noticed Leon's genuine concern and reassured him, urging him to drop his facade. She acknowledged his intent to negotiate with Guy but emphasized the importance of making genuine efforts to avoid alienating the demon lord. Elmesia offered to arrange transportation for Leon to Lubelius, recognizing the urgency of the situation. Leon, appreciating her support, accepted gratefully. Elmesia warned him about Cerberus's trap, noting his understanding with a sad smile. She admired Leon's unwavering determination, reminiscent of his hero days, but felt a mix of happiness and sadness seeing his unchanged clumsiness. A while later, as he boarded the dragon ship, Leon remembered something and turned back to Elmesia. He informed her that John had disappeared, advising her to be cautious. Elmesia was genuinely surprised, prompting a chuckle from Leon. He left, feeling victorious. After he departed, Elmesia was dismayed to realize that 3 of the primal demons were missing while half of the Magus was deployed. She lamented her misjudgment of Leon and the disruption to her plans caused by others' actions. The morning dawned with clear skies and a gentle breeze, setting the stage for what seemed like a peaceful day. However, all tranquility shattered when a paladin apprentice burst into the room with urgent news of an attack on the cathedral grounds. Hinata, calmly sharing breakfast with Rimuru, maintained her composure as they received the grim report. The enemy force, led by Gren of the 7 Days clergy and the Razo family, numbered close to 100 skilled fighters and displayed intricate knowledge of the city's layout. Despite significant casualties among their knights, the civilians remained unharmed. Respectful of Rimuru's authority, he refrained from immediate intervention, sensing the gravity of the situation. Upon realizing that the attacked cathedral housed their instruments from the previous day, a sense of foreboding gripped Rimuru. Seeking confirmation, he turned to Diablo, whose solemn nod confirmed their worst fears: the cathedral under attack was indeed the only one in the country. With a heavy heart and a sense of impending trouble, Rimuru braced himself. With a reassuring smile, Rimuru acknowledged the situation calmly, having already coordinated with Venom through thought communication upon receiving the messenger's news. Impressed by Venom's swift action to safeguard Batten and the orchestra within the cathedral despite the impending threat, Rimuru couldn't help but admire his capability. Eager to contribute, Rimuru utilized Dominate Space to create a portal to the cathedral, showcasing his improving mastery over the skill. Hinata, showing signs of fatigue, opted to join Rimuru through the portal, prompting him to refrain from questioning her condition to avoid any misunderstandings. Accompanying them was Nikolaus, initially mistaken for a servant but revealed to be a cardinal and chief counsel for the Western Holy Church. Concerned for the safety of the children already inside the cathedral, Rimuru hurriedly transported himself to join them, ready to face whatever challenges. Upon entering the cathedral, Rimuru was greeted by the sounds of intense battle outside. Despite the chaos, Xian's commanding voice echoed within, urging Baton and the orchestra to focus on their music for safety. While initially skeptical of Xian's approach given the circumstances, Rimuru observed as her words restored the group's composure, leading them to resume their rehearsal with renewed determination. Impressed by their resolve, Rimuru felt a sense of pride for those he had brought along. Meanwhile, he directed the children, including Kumara, to remain inside under Xian and Diablo's protection, emphasizing their safety above all else. Determined to confront the source of the conflict outside, Rimuru resolved to join the fray, supported by Diablo's unexpected acceptance of his decision. With Xian's prior directive to Diablo preventing any objections, Rimuru prepared to enter the battle, determined to resolve the situation swiftly. At the cathedral entrance, Rimuru observed a chaotic scene with enemies and allies engaged in battle. One standout figure was Granville Razo, an elderly but formidable man leading the 5 elders and the Razo family. He commanded a woman named Maria, who bore a resemblance to Maribel but was likely not her mother. Granville ordered Maria to locate Lady Luminous and bring her to him, even if it meant resorting to lethal force. Rimuru recognized the gravity of the situation and prepared to confront this powerful adversary. Recognizing Maria's resemblance to Maribel, Rimuru speculated on her strength and purpose, considering Granville's command to seize Lady Luminous. Intending to confront Granville, Rimuru introduced himself as a demon lord, hoping for a civil conversation despite their likely animosity. Granville, however, harbored resentment towards Rimuru for Maribel's death, despite it being accidental. Rimuru reflected on Yuki's attempts at reconciliation, realizing their conflict likely couldn't be resolved peacefully. Rimuru anticipated that coexisting with Granville would be as challenging as it was with Maribel, deciding to confront him directly. Granville, however, arrogantly dismissed Rimuru's challenge, confident in his own power despite Rimuru's status as a demon lord. Meanwhile, Nikolaus, despite his high rank, intervened in the fight alongside Crusader Captains Renard, Arnaud, and Letus, aiming to weaken Granville with a strategic attack. Their goal was to create an opening for Nikolaus to cast disintegration once more, showcasing Nikolaus's cautious approach to the battle. Renard, Arnaud, and Letus fought together against Granville, but even their combined effort wasn't enough to overpower him. Meanwhile, Nicolaus prepared to cast his final verse of disintegration, intending to trap Granville with its powerful magic. However, Granville calmly intercepted the spell with his sword, absorbing its energy effortlessly. This shocked everyone, including Hinata, who realized the danger too late. As Nicolaus unleashed the spell, Granville redirected its power with his overblade, Melt Slash, creating a devastating shockwave. In a split second, Hinata rushed to shield Nicolaus from the attack, narrowly averting disaster. The powerful strike from Granville's Melt Slash sent Hinata flying, crashing into Nicolaus, who likely couldn't continue fighting. Luckily, Hinata wielded the Legend-class Moonlight, saving them both from being turned to ash. The shockwave also knocked out Renard and the other captains. Hinata, surprised by the force, realized Rimuru had intervened to save them. Grateful, she thanked Rimuru for his help. Rimuru nodded in acknowledgement. He had deployed absolute defense to shield them, but it wasn't as effective on others as it was on himself due to its limitations. Despite this, Rimuru's quick action had prevented a catastrophe, although the paladin captains were left severely injured. Granville, astonished by Hinata's use of Melt Slash, expressed his surprise at someone else mastering the skill. Granville boasted about his power and belittled Hinata and the paladin captains, underestimating their abilities. Hinata challenged his arrogance, ready to prove him wrong. However, an explosion shook the cathedral as Razul, under Granville's command, began destroying it. Rimuru realized the danger to the kids and the orchestra inside. Despite intending to confront Granville, Rimuru decided to prioritize protecting the innocents. As he attempted to teleport to the cathedral, Granville intervened, ordering a group of diverse individuals, each with a high level of magicules, to face Rimuru instead. Granville had ensnared otherworlders to attack Rimuru, manipulating them like pawns in a game. Despite knowing they were controlled, Rimuru hesitated to fight back, feeling conflicted about harming innocent people. However, with the children's safety at risk, Rimuru had to act quickly. He decided to non-lethally incapacitate the otherworlders by unlocking the curses controlling them, reluctantly becoming directly involved in the battle to protect the innocents. The otherworlders closed in on Rimuru, displaying extraordinary physical abilities and unpredictable special skills. However, Rimuru felt confident in his defenses, knowing that even Glenda couldn't harm him. With his absolute defense and infinite regeneration, he was virtually invulnerable. Despite the challenge posed by the otherworlders, Rimuru remained calm, relying on his computational skills to assess the situation and devise a strategy to neutralize his opponents. Rimuru observed Hinata and Granville engaged in a fierce sword fight, both wielding rapiers with skill. Despite Granville's previous disguise as Gren, he now displayed mastery with various weapons, including the sword he currently wielded. Raphael speculated that Granville's sword could be of legend class or higher, considering its ability to match Hinata's Moonlight sword. As the battle intensified, Rimuru focused on analyzing the situation to determine the best course of action. Rimuru pondered Granville's strength, realizing he may have underestimated him. Concern for Hinata's safety arose, despite his belief in her abilities. As he observed Hinata and Granville's duel, Rimuru sensed a more pressing battle unfolding at the cathedral, where a man in dark armor confronted Xian and Diablo. Granville's revelation about his powerful ally intrigued Rimuru, who engaged in conversation to gather more information. Despite being in the midst of battle, Granville responded, prompting Rimuru to question the newcomer's strength compared to Granville himself. Rimuru tried to provoke Granville with a taunting question, but Granville calmly revealed the identity of his powerful ally, Razul. Despite the tense situation, Hinata remained silent, understanding Rimuru's intentions. As their conversation continued, Granville explained Razul's origins and their long-standing partnership. Rimuru felt slighted by Granville's tone but focused on understanding the situation. Observing the struggle between Xian, Diablo, and Razul, Rimuru realized that Diablo seemed distracted. Suddenly, unusual spatial disturbances hinted at someone using spatial transport to arrive, adding another layer of complexity to the unfolding events. Rimuru received a sudden alert from Raphael, signaling a serious situation. This was unusual and demanded immediate action. Sensing Diablo's distraction, Rimuru communicated with him, asking about his difficulties in the battle. Diablo explained that their opponent was a highly evolved insectoid, a rare and formidable adversary for demons. Despite Diablo's prowess, he struggled against this foe. As they prepared for incoming trouble, Rimuru instructed Diablo to prioritize addressing the issue at hand. Rimuru sensed Diablo's discomfort and realized he was hiding something serious. Concerned for Diablo's well-being and wanting to ensure victory, Rimuru instructed Xian and Ranga to support Diablo in defeating Razul, the powerful insectoid opponent. Xian, understanding the situation, readily accepted the task. Rimuru reminded Diablo to trust his allies and address the issue bothering him. With everyone prepared, Rimuru gave the order to begin the battle, hoping for the best outcome as they focused on neutralizing the Otherworlders. Diablo and Xian exchanged words of encouragement before facing their respective challenges. Diablo expressed gratitude for Xian's concern, acknowledging her strength and emphasizing her role in defeating Razul. Xian, although surprised by Diablo's formal address, reassured him with genuine belief in his abilities. As they parted ways, Diablo wished Xian luck, and she returned the sentiment, both ready to fulfill their duties in the battle. Diablo then directed his subordinates to protect the children with utmost care. Without specific orders from Rimuru, Diablo focused solely on the safety of the children and orchestra, disregarding his troops' sentiments. Meanwhile, Venom, one of Diablo's subordinates, silently hoped for Diablo's victory, but received a cold response. Remembering past encounters with Diablo, Venom quickly suppressed any negative thoughts and concentrated on his mission. But with Xian and Ranga handling the main threat, Venom felt relieved to focus on protecting their area, rather than facing Diablo in battle. As Diablo left to join the fray, Venom braced himself for his assigned task. He appeared in a barren plain outside of Lubulius and faced a blue-haired woman named Rain, also known as Blue. Several paladins lay defeated at her feet, unable to stop her. Diablo, also called Noir, exchanged words with Rain, who revealed that her name was granted by Rouge, a powerful figure among the primal demons. Their conversation turned hostile, and Diablo's smile vanished as he prepared for battle. Rain expressed her eagerness to fight Diablo, but he dismissed her confidence, ready to prove her wrong. With a challenge from Rain, the battle began as she swiftly attacked with a chop, but Diablo easily deflected it. Rain had long envied Diablo's freedom and strength, contrasting it with her own adherence to rules and regulations. She resented his carefree demeanor despite his formidable power, wishing he would strive for further evolution like she believed a demon should. Fueled by years of jealousy and frustration, Rain unleashed all her pent-up emotions in her assault against Diablo. Long ago, Diablo, known as Noir, the original Black, engaged in a legendary battle with Rouge to claim the title of the strongest demon. While their clash ended in a tie, it set their destinies in stone. Rouge gained immense powers by manifesting in the physical world, but Noir chose to remain unchanged, rejecting the opportunity for evolution. While other demons like Blanc, John, and Violet were locked in a rivalry preventing their evolution, Noir had no such constraints yet opted to live life on his own terms, seemingly indifferent to the struggles of the other demon shades for tens of thousands of years. And that's precisely why Rain couldn't forgive Diablo. He acted selfishly, roaming freely and living without restraint, yet even Guy, the mightiest of them all, acknowledged him as an equal. "Dodging won't make this a battle. You've always been good at avoiding things," she taunted. "Don't misunderstand. I just don't need to use my full power against you. And I won't dodge you either," Diablo retorted. Rain unleashed a powerful magic bolt, instantly transformed into a nuclear cannon blast, but Diablo countered it effortlessly with dispulsion magic. In this high-level demon battle, they aimed to penetrate each other's magical defenses and land lethal blows without the need for drawn-out spells, exchanging supercharged magic attacks. As time passed, Rain was astonished to find out that Diablo had been drawing while they fought. He explained that fighting her was just a distraction to him, as he already knew how it would end. Diablo trapped Rain in a layered circle of magic runes, preventing her from moving. Whenever she tried to move, Diablo countered with powerful magic. Rain realized she was caught in a multi-layered disintegration, a magic that could destroy demons. Diablo, feeling a slight pity, explained that with deep faith in his master Rimuru, he could control spiritual particles. He then unleashed 7 deadly arrows of light, each capable of absolute destruction, aimed at Rain. Luminous felt deeply frustrated. During the concert she organized with Demon Lord Rimuru, Granville had orchestrated a rebellion, a grave mistake in her nation's history. Despite her urge to retaliate by attacking the cathedral, she restrained herself, realizing it was likely a diversion. Her companions, Lewis and Gunther, remained quiet, understanding the gravity of the situation. Luminous suspected that Granville targeted her cherished arc, her nation's greatest treasure, and the key to an even bigger secret. Though it seemed unlikely, she trusted her instincts, which proved to be correct. Inside her private chamber, Luminous found herself unexpectedly facing two intruders, Laplace and Footman, who showed little regard for etiquette. Despite feeling confident in her ability to handle them, she remained wary due to the tense atmosphere. Luminous, concealing her anger, demanded their names, to which Laplace introduced himself as the Wonder Jester and Footman as the Angry Jester, both affiliated with the Moderate Jesters. Another figure, Maria, Granville's beloved, joined them, prompting surprise from Luminous at the unexpected reunion. Luminous winced at Laplace's words, asserting that they were not friends and that further discussion would be settled with fists rather than words. Laplace relayed a message from Granville threatening those dear to Luminous unless she confronted him. Angered by the mention of Granville, Louis launched an attack, prompting Luminous to signal the start of the battle. Louis accused Laplace of killing his brother, to which Laplace admitted to killing Louis's body double, Roy. Meanwhile, Gunther and Footman left to engage in their own battles, leaving Luminous to face off against the mysterious figure resembling Maria. Despite recognizing that the figure was not truly Maria, Luminous engaged in a fierce battle, with the outcome uncertain. Eventually, amidst the chaos, the Ark remained in the chamber left behind. After everyone left the room to avoid damaging it, a boy named Yuki emerged from the darkness, laughing at the success of Granville's plan. Yuki, who usually kept himself detectable but hidden, followed the intruders and deceived even Luminous with his stealth. He reached out and touched the Ark, marveling at its construction of spiritual particles. Feeling confident in his ability to take it, Yuki shattered the Ark open, revealing a beautiful young woman, the sought-after hero. He noticed a seal on her body but dismissed it, knowing he could deactivate it later with ease. Yuki laughed a little because he saw that the girl was covered in a very strong magic shield. He thought he could remove it later when they were safe. Looking at the girl, he felt she looked familiar but couldn't remember from where. The girl seemed young, about 16, and her long, dark silver hair was the only thing covering her. Yuki knew it wasn't right to carry her when she had no clothes, but he thought he had no choice. He gently picked her up, thinking he had found someone very important, and quickly left the room with a big smile. He didn't know why she was there, but he took her and left quickly. Yuki was good at many things and thought everything would be okay. He joined Granville's secret plan without knowing it would cause a big problem later. Back to the battlefield, the other worlders surged towards Rimuru like zombies. Carefully, Rimuru neutralized them one by one, ensuring not to cause any fatalities. With Rimuru's vast powers, even facing 100 of these other worlders at once wouldn't pose much of a challenge. However, undoing the lock-in curses placed upon them proved to be a tedious task. Despite their apparent magical prowess and physical abilities, Rimuru couldn't shake the feeling that these other worlders weren't as formidable as they appeared. Initially attributing it to differences in talent, Rimuru couldn't help but wonder if there was more to their perceived weakness. Alongside Granville's manipulation of their freedom, Rimuru suspected there might be another underlying reason for their apparent lack of strength. Rimuru figured it out. None of these other worlders were using any special attacks, which made dealing with them pretty straightforward. But Rimuru wondered if such a large group of other worlders would really lack any unique abilities, or if they were just holding back. Either way, it gave Rimuru the creeps. Regardless of Granville's plans, Rimuru was determined to defeat him and put an end to it. Turning attention to the last of them, Rimuru noticed she looked around 10 years old, her power just starting to stabilize. After unlocking her consciousness and laying her down with the others, Rimuru reflected on the difficulty of dealing with children among the group. Although Granville might have been aiming to buy time, Rimuru managed to neutralize all the other worlders attacking. Glancing across the battlefield, Rimuru wondered how things were progressing. The kids were okay, which was good news. Meanwhile, Batten and his orchestra kept practicing their music despite everything. They seemed really focused, which I guess helped calm their nerves. Hinata was locked in a tough fight with Granville, both going super fast. Rimuru knew jumping in without a plan could mess things up, so he held back for now. Xian and Ranga were up against Razul, holding their own. Xian kept healing herself fast with her special powers, while Ranga attacked from the shadows with magic. Rimuru admired Ranga's skill, but none of their moves seemed to work on Razul. Razul seemed unbeatable. With his insectoid features like Epido and Zijin, he had no blind spots and a tough exoskeleton. Even Ranga's surprise attacks couldn't catch him off guard, and regular attacks didn't hurt him much. His exoskeleton was like super hard armor, and he had a trick to block magic too. No wonder Diablo had a hard time against him. Razul was serving Granville, which seemed strange for someone so powerful. Despite his strength, Rimuru felt confident about facing him. So Rimuru prepared himself to head over to the cathedral, accompanied by Hinata, Xian, and others who seemed nervous too. In front of the cathedral stood Leon, wearing a white robe and golden armor. He seemed angry, and behind him were some knights picked from his top officials. Rimuru wondered why he was there and if he was a friend or foe. It was hard to imagine him as an ally, but Rimuru hoped he wouldn't start a fight. Granville greeted Demon Lord Leon and noticed Hinata turning away from their confrontation. Despite Granville's calm demeanor, it seemed like he and Leon might be working together. Leon, however, seemed unfamiliar with Granville, raising doubts about their alliance. Granville acknowledged Leon's kindness towards the collected children, hinting at their shared involvement with them. Rimuru wondered if Granville's reference to the children had something to do with the otherworlders who appeared young. Granville's revelation about summoning the children using spells taught by Leon raised suspicions, causing Hinata to pause, sensing danger in Granville's manipulative words, trying to sow discord between Rimuru and Leon. Rimuru suspected Granville's plan to provoke Leon, but couldn't ignore his revelation about otherworlders being cast-offs, including Shizu, who was summoned and abandoned by Leon. This revelation troubled Rimuru deeply, challenging his ethical beliefs. When Rimuru questioned Granville about summoning other people, Granville admitted to it, claiming it was at Leon's request. Granville's laughter revealed Leon's involvement in seeking unstable summonings for his own gain, manipulating them into feeling indebted and using them as weapons, exposing Leon's darker intentions. Granville's manipulative tactics aimed to exploit Rimuru's compassion, fueling resentment toward Leon. Despite knowing Granville's ploy, Rimuru's anger surged, compelling him to confront Leon immediately. Ignoring the potential consequences, Rimuru charged at Leon, driven by his overwhelming rage. As Rimuru's fist closed in on Leon, Raphael's report indicated that Leon made no move to counter the attack, leaving Rimuru to deliver a direct strike. In the end, Rimuru's punch landed squarely on Leon's cheek, drawing blood but not causing significant damage. Surprisingly, Leon remained composed and unguarded, indicating a more amiable nature than Rimuru had anticipated. Remembering Shizu's perspective, Rimuru realized there might be more to Leon than meets the eye, prompting him to seek a deeper conversation. Aware of the risks, Rimuru resolved to approach Leon cautiously, recognizing the importance of understanding his motivations. With this in mind, Rimuru prepared to engage in dialogue with Leon, setting aside his initial anger for the sake of uncovering the truth and addressing the threat posed by Granville. He resembled Shizu when she was young, with smooth, unpigmented skin and shining hair. Though he didn't look Asian, he shared Shizu's core features, making him strikingly beautiful. With golden eyes fixed on Leon, Rimuru spoke calmly, expressing a desire for a deeper conversation. Leon grasped Rimuru's intention immediately, recognizing his trust despite their limited acquaintance. He admired Rimuru's resolve and emotional intelligence, understanding that Rimuru was assessing loyalties amidst the chaos of battle. Despite knowing the need to remain cautious, Leon felt reassured by Rimuru's presence. He drew his own blade, ready to engage. As Leon arrived on the Dragon airship, he received urgent news from Cerberus about a missing agent, raising suspicions of a potential breach. Unsure who exposed the agent, whether it was Rimuru, the Five Elders, or even the Crusaders, everyone was under scrutiny. Though cautious of Cerberus's motives, Leon couldn't ignore the call, even if it led to a trap. His sole concern was finding Chloe, regardless of the risks involved. Engaging Rimuru in combat, Leon remained composed amid the chaos, instructing Arlos the Silver Knight discreetly to maintain defense without escalating violence, wary of potential eavesdroppers. Despite being the intruder, Leon found himself in the midst of a puzzling situation. Luminous, the guardian of these lands, was nowhere to be found, raising concerns of an impending conflict. Observing the chaos around him, Leon realized someone was orchestrating a trap, attempting to manipulate him into battling Rimuru. However, Rimuru's astuteness thwarted the scheme, prompting Leon to reluctantly place his trust in him, recognizing the need to navigate this intricate situation cautiously. Hinata was taken aback as Granville uncovered her secret ability. His astuteness made her uneasy, especially realizing that her skill Usurper failed against him. Granville's deduction revealed that he had anticipated her moves, leaving Hinata feeling exposed and vulnerable. Despite her attempts to conceal her surprise, Granville's insight into her tactics left her defenseless. His words stung, highlighting her lack of experience against opponents of similar caliber. Hinata's frustration boiled over, but she recognized Granville's deliberate provocation, which inadvertently confirmed her skill's limitations. Granville had suspected Hinata's ability before, but now, with his keen social skills, he confirmed it. Despite being focused on battle, Granville taunted Hinata with ease, aggravating her further. Hinata, determined to defeat him, unleashed her ultimate move, Force Takeover, to strip Granville of his skills permanently. However, to her dismay, her attempts proved futile as Granville easily countered her every move. Despite her panic, Hinata realized that Granville had anticipated her tactics and had prepared countermeasures. Frustrated and unable to gain an advantage, Hinata found herself at Granville's mercy, realizing she had underestimated his cunning. Granville's mocking demeanor only fueled her frustration as she struggled to comprehend his strategies. Granville's sharp analysis left Hinata stunned, realizing her own underestimation of him. Feeling exposed, she retreated from the confrontation, recognizing the futility of her efforts. As she tried to catch her breath, she noticed a growing exhaustion, unfamiliar and concerning. Granville's observations highlighted her lack of experience with deceitful tactics, emphasizing her reliance on straightforward combat. Hindered by fatigue, Hinata grappled with the unexpected challenge posed by Granville's cunning strategy. Granville's strategy was clear: wear down Hinata gradually, exploiting her belief that pushing harder would lead to success. Despite Hinata's attempts to deny it, Granville's tactics proved effective, demonstrating his expertise in battle. Realizing the difference in their levels, Hinata acknowledged Granville's strength and prepared to fight seriously. As the intensity of their battle increased, they focused solely on each other, the world around them fading away. With determination, they clashed, each striving to outdo the other. Diablo's powerful attack broke through Rain's defense barrier, leaving her wounded but still standing. Despite his superiority, Diablo questioned Rain's purpose for being there. Unwilling to comply, Rain's defiance irritated Diablo, who continued to bark orders from above. Although Diablo had defeated Rain, the situation wasn't without its challenges. The insectoid Razul, whom Xian and Ranga were contending with, posed a significant threat to demons like him. As a half-spiritual being, Razul could manifest in the physical realm, making him difficult to deal with. Unlike most insectoids who settle into primitive forms, Razul had achieved a rare humanoid state, making him even more formidable. Despite Xian's skills and Ranga's presence, Diablo felt the need to intervene to ensure victory for Rimuru's forces. Defeating Razul would remove a major uncertainty from the battle and benefit Rimuru's overall strategy. Then, another idea struck Diablo. What if Rimuru intentionally left Razul for Xian and Ranga to face? Diablo had been flustered earlier, distracted by Rain's arrival and wanting to prevent her interference in the battle. But now he questioned whether that was the right decision. Could it be that Rimuru wanted Xian and Ranga to confront a stronger opponent to gain experience? If so, it wouldn't be appropriate for Diablo to intervene. It was a thought born from his fervent dedication to Rimuru, driven by a belief that following Rimuru's intentions was paramount. Understanding that Rimuru likely intended for them to face such a challenge to learn and grow, Diablo refrained from intervening further. But this decision was tough for Diablo. He needed to think carefully about what to do next, feeling bewildered in front of Rain, who was one of the strongest fighters in the world. Diablo's mind was in turmoil. Meanwhile, Rimuru had a different perspective. He simply wanted to end the conflict and ensure the safety of everyone involved, without seeing it as a training opportunity for Xian and Ranga. Despite Diablo's mistaken belief, Rimuru had no such intention. Nevertheless, Diablo's misconception led him to a new course of action. He decided not to harm Rain, surprising her with his unexpected decision. As Rain processed this, her expression shifted from defeat to a mix of frustration and hatred. Noir had just become a demon peer, and Rain, who was turning into dust, didn't think it was because of his magic power. She thought it was because of his level. Then a bright light showed up and two people appeared, one blue and one red. The blue person, Rain, was in front of Guy Crimson, who was very strong. Noir greeted Guy, who he used to know as Rouge. Diablo didn't trust Guy, but Guy looked at him like he remembered old times. Guy asked Noir why he used a big power on Rain if he knew about her special mist. Diablo frowned, not liking the question. His plan was to pretend he didn't know about Rain's skill, letting her regenerate and giving Guy the impression he wasn't a big threat. Then, Once Guy lost interest, Diablo could focus on helping Sean and the others. But his own desires got in the way. Now wasn't the time for games. Your disintegration isn't enough to beat us primal demons, right? It's not much of a secret weapon, Guy chuckled, and Diablo forced a laugh too, trying to keep up appearances. Meanwhile, Rain watched unnoticed. So why didn't you evolve until now? You weren't interested in playing games like the others, Guy asked Diablo. Diablo explained that while the others enjoyed their games, he stayed out of it. Then he posed a question to Guy, asking if there was anyone stronger than them in the world. It was a common belief among the primal demons, shared by Guy. Guy agreed, saying there wasn't anyone stronger, except maybe the true dragon, but that was more of a natural phenomenon. As of now, Guy was the strongest around. Diablo nodded in agreement with Guy, explaining that if he evolved knowing there was no one stronger, battles would become boring and one-sided. Guy, seeing the similarity in their views, seemed convinced. Diablo then corrected Guy when he referred to Rimuru as a slime, asking him to use his proper name. Guy inquired if Rimuru was the reason for Diablo's evolution, to which Diablo praised Rimuru's growth and charm, but Guy interrupted, asking if Diablo would continue with his lengthy praises. Diablo and Guy exchanged looks, with Diablo expressing a silent question in response to Guy's interruption. Guy redirected the conversation, prompting Diablo to focus on himself. Although Diablo was annoyed at first, he eventually complied, recognizing the urgency of their situation. Diablo explained how witnessing the rapid changes in Rimuru's companions influenced him, making him realize the need to keep up with the evolving environment. Guy, though fatigued, listened intently and then shifted the conversation to the situation in his own territory, where chaos reigned despite Rimuru's control over the Western nations. To Guy, teasing humans was just a joke, but he knew it would bother Rimuru, who valued their relationship with humans. Hoping to provoke Rimuru indirectly through Diablo, Guy mentioned the chaos caused by his minions in the Western nations. Seeing Diablo, once his equal opponent, now serving someone else, Guy aimed to unsettle him. With Razul absent, the Western nations were exposed, but Diablo remained unperturbed, attributing Rimuru's foresight to resolve the situation. This unexpected response frustrated Guy, who expected Diablo to react differently. Instead, Diablo continued to praise Rimuru even though he wasn't present. This puzzled Guy, but Diablo persisted, unaware of Rain's silent observation. In the Western nations, a crisis unfolded as the Sidra Frontier Defense Force struggled against a new, unprecedented threat. With their main offensive unit missing, they urgently called for reinforcements. The Emergency Council convened with representatives from all member nations, but chaos ensued as they tried to address the advancing demon forces. Concerns arose about Margrave Sidra's actions, but immediate action was needed to prevent a demon invasion into the capital of Inglesia. Despite their political power, the council faced delays due to the majority vote system, hindering quick decision-making during emergencies. In the northern regions, Margrave Sidra of Inglesia held the defense line against Guy Crimson's forces, supported by crusaders and ranked adventurers from the Free Guild. This defensive position was crucial for humanity's survival, causing panic among council members. Despite their efforts, they struggled to reinforce the last defense base due to bureaucratic delays within the Federation of Independent Nations. Emergency backup was requested from the Free Guild, but deploying Inglesia's regular forces was risky as it could leave the capital vulnerable. Calls for a multinational force led by Tempest, a nation of monsters, were met with hesitation and concern among councillors, despite the unanimous vote. As the chaos grew, the chairman called for order, trying to regain control of the situation. The chairman urged immediate action to summon reinforcements from their respective nations, suggesting Lady Testarossa, believed to be knowledgeable in military matters, as a suitable leader appointed by the demon Lord Rimuru. While some murmurs of disagreement arose, no one openly opposed the idea, realizing that debating further would only worsen the situation. All attention turned to Testarossa, who would likely lead the army. Despite being young and strikingly beautiful, her competence was under scrutiny, with counselors silently assessing her capabilities, hesitant to voice any judgments about her appearance. The outcome of the debate carried immense weight, not just for the counselors but for all of humankind. One counselor, finally gathering the courage to speak, questioned Lady Testarossa's ability to lead a military force. In response, Testarossa assured them of her capabilities, mentioning that Sir Rimuru had tasked her with defending the council's nations, and her own forces were already deployed. Moss, likely one of Testarossa's aides, informed the hall that reliable reinforcements had arrived in the north, causing a stir among the counselors. Moss revealed that a dragon airship from the sorceress dynasty of Thalion was en route, led by Lady Elmesia, a close ally of Lord Rimuru. The chairman and Moss emphasized the importance of addressing Lady Elmesia with the proper respect, signaling her significance in the situation. Under Testarosa's stern gaze, Moss realized he could no longer act as he once did, knowing that angering her could lead to his downfall. Testarosa, displaying both kindness and ruthlessness, warned Moss to correct his behavior, lest he face consequences. As chaos engulfed the council, Testarosa's credibility was questioned, with opinions divided on whether to trust her. Some voiced their support, while others expressed doubts, fearing the consequences of relying on unconfirmed reinforcements. Testarosa remained composed, observing the debate until she suddenly addressed Prince Johann Rostia of the Kingdom of Rostia, causing him to visibly panic. "What are you accusing me of?" Johann nervously asked, attempting to mask his fear, but Testarosa's smile only widened, unnerving him further. In a dramatic outburst, Johann called for his guards, seeking solace in their presence. However, Testarosa remained composed, toying with her hair as the bewildered counselors looked on. Johann's actions were illogical and inappropriate for the council setting, where violence was strictly prohibited. Despite his status, such behavior would not be tolerated. Testarosa calmly questioned Johann about his mysterious actions, leaving him cornered and flustered. The other counselors, realizing the gravity of the situation, hurried to assess the state of Inglesia's defensive barrier. Before they could gather any information, the ground began to shake ominously. "It's true," exclaimed one of the counselors in shock as Johann's betrayal unfolded. The realization of the impending disaster dawned upon them as they pleaded with Johann to explain his actions. Instead, Johann remained composed, revealing his sinister plan with a chilling smile. As he summoned Gerard, the leader of the Sons of the Velti, to his side, panic spread among the counselors. Gerard's presence confirmed their worst fears, and Johann's laughter echoed through the hall as he declared his allegiance to their mutual master, Granville Rousseau. With the kingdom's defense barrier destroyed and Johann's true intentions exposed, despair gripped the counselors, realizing they had been betrayed. Gerard gave the order, and Ian began casting a summon spell, bringing forth a deity worshipped by the Sons of the Velti. Through the transport gate emerged Maiziri, a stunning yet menacing figure exuding an aura of despair. Johann, reveling in his success, reflected on his previous meeting with Granville Rousseau, where they discussed the threat posed by the demon Lord Rimuru. With Maribel's death and the looming demise of the Rousseau family, Johann saw an opportunity to align with the monsters against Rimuru's ambitions for dominion over humanity, a plan that now seemed to be unfolding before his eyes. Granville talked to his friends about being brave and not giving up control to Rimuru. He wanted them to fight with him one last time against Rimuru's power. Johann and Cedra weren't sure, but Granville didn't give up. In the end, only Doran decided to fight for his family's honor. Granville's strong words made his friends think hard about fighting or giving in to Rimuru. As Granville prepared for their final stand against Rimuru's dominance, he entrusted Doran with observing and preserving their true history. Doran tearfully accepted this responsibility before departing alone. Johann and Cedra, understanding the gravity of the situation, resolved to stand by Granville's side in their last operation. Granville's plan involved staging a series of strategic moves to disrupt human society, including challenging Luminous, abandoning defenses, and orchestrating confrontations between key figures. Johann and Cedra pledged their unwavering loyalty to Granville, even though it meant facing almost certain death. Johann, recognizing the weight of Granville's authority within the Rousseau family, willingly followed his orders, securing the assistance of the Sons of the Velti for their mission of chaos. Despite the impending chaos, Johann found solace in his role as a member of the Rousseau family, steadfast in his duty to Granville's cause. Johann watched as his plan unfolded, believing Inglesia's destruction was imminent with the arrival of the powerful demon Pir Maiziri. However, he was shocked to see Testarosa and her assistant Moss remain calm in the face of Maiziri's threat. Testarosa confronted Johann about his scheme, but he underestimated her strength, believing her confidence would lead to her downfall. Meanwhile, the chairman urged Testarosa to flee and inform Lord Rimuru about the invasion, hoping for assistance despite knowing the slim chance of intervention from Rimuru due to his allegiance with Guy Crimson. Despite the chairman's ignorance about demons, his hope persisted, fueled by the belief in Rimuru's potential to defy expectations. Testarossa, aware of the chairman's uncertainty, smiled knowingly, hinting at her true intentions as she engaged in conversation with him. Johann and others were baffled by Testarossa's nonchalant demeanor, prompting Johann to urge Gerard to take action and confront the situation. Gerard, uncertain about Maiziri's inaction and concerned for Ian's well-being after summoning her, contemplated a swift retreat to avoid potential devastation. Despite Ian's remarkable effort, Gerard feared the consequences of Maiziri's overwhelming power. However, Maiziri remained fixated on Testarossa, raising tension as everyone awaited her next move. Blanc, now known as Testarossa, engaged in a verbal exchange with Maiziri, revealing her newfound name and status as a demon peer. Despite Maiziri's astonishment, Testarossa confidently asserted her superiority and readiness for combat, backed by her experience and the presence of Moss. Recognizing the risk of facing two demon peers simultaneously, Maiziri opted to retreat, citing her allegiance to Sir Guy and her completed mission of destroying the capital's barrier. Testarossa's taunts hinted at her desire for conflict, but Maiziri remained resolute in prioritizing her own survival and loyalty to Sir Guy. Testarossa and Maiziri exchanged parting words, expressing anticipation for their next encounter. As they stared at each other, Maiziri suddenly disappeared without warning, leaving everyone perplexed. Gerard was the first to react, but the remaining individuals were at a loss, unable to comprehend what had just transpired. To Gerard, it seemed like Testarossa had effortlessly subdued the godlike Maiziri, leaving him feeling betrayed and enraged. Despite his attempts to attack Testarossa, Moss intervened swiftly, breaking Gerard's sword and restraining him. Testarossa's command spared their lives, though Moss's ears paid the price for his defiance. Moss, fiercely loyal despite occasional mistakes, had served Testarossa for thousands of years. With Johann, Gerard, and Ian now detained, Gerard began to comprehend the gravity of the situation, realizing Testarossa's true identity as a primal demon. This revelation shattered his ego, leading him to laugh hysterically as they were handed over to the magical inquisitors, oblivious to their fate. Johann, now defeated and broken, lamented his failure to fulfill Sir Granville's final request, while Testarossa mocked him with poisonous words. As Testarossa left, Johann's pleas fell on deaf ears as the inquisitors seized him, disregarding his protests. Testarossa, compliant with international law, ensured Johann's capture, leaving him to face justice for his crimes against the kingdom. In the eyes of the council, Testarossa's actions solidified her reputation as a savior, positioning her for greater influence within the council and earning her praise for her intellect and strength. With Testarossa's dominance established in the West, she conversed with Moss about the situation, acknowledging Sir Rimuru's influence. They anticipated Guy Crimson's potential reaction and pledged to strengthen their powers to uphold their master's will. Meanwhile, Cian, another of Testarossa's servants, managed to hold off the invasion in the north until reinforcements arrived, ultimately forcing the demons to retreat. Receiving a message from Maiziri, Guy was puzzled about Blanc having a name now. Diablo explained that it showed Blanc's recognition of Sir Rimuru's greatness. Guy realized his minions were getting defeated, realizing that Rimuru's plan was working against him. Diablo continued to taunt Guy, who was starting to feel overwhelmed by the situation. Rain, standing behind Guy, felt uneasy about the news, realizing their long-standing balance of power was crumbling due to Rimuru's influence. Guy felt a pang of disbelief as he realized the delicate balance between primal demons and the political landscape had crumbled in a single day. Concerned, he turned to Diablo and asked about the current status of the other two primal demons, Ultima and Carrera. Diablo, eager to share, explained that Sir Rimuru had enlisted them for work as well. Guy, sensing another long story, interrupted, prompting Diablo's annoyance. Diablo clarified that Ultima was Violet and Carrera was John, emphasizing the importance of addressing them by name. Guy, troubled by the news, wondered about Rimuru's motives, especially considering Blanc's allegiance, the proudest among primordial. As Diablo continued talking, Guy pondered the implications of these developments, realizing the shifting loyalties among the primal demons. Guy grew increasingly suspicious of Diablo's words, sensing manipulation behind his seemingly casual demeanor. Diablo explained how he had invited Ultima and Carrera to assist him, hoping to end the perpetual power struggles among demons and aid Sir Rimuru. Guy, frustrated by Diablo's actions, realized the potential dangers of Rimuru naming primal demons, a task typically fatal for any other demon lord. Despite his desire to confront Rimuru about this, Guy knew he needed to keep his composure, aware that losing his temper would only play into Diablo's hands. Resigned to the situation, Guy decided to visit Rimuru, but Diablo cautioned against it, warning of potential consequences. Frustrated, Guy refrained from acting impulsively, mindful of Diablo's ability to resurrect himself if harmed. Guy persuaded Diablo to postpone the confrontation with Rimuru and instead shared stories about their respective lands. Diablo, fond of talking about Tempest, agreed, feeling relieved by Guy's compliment. Reflecting on Guy's behavior, Diablo realized he was picking up undesirable traits from Xian. Eventually, Diablo bid farewell, confident that Rimuru would handle any issues that arose in his absence. With a promise to convey Guy's regards, Diablo parted ways, leaving Rimuru unaware of their discussion. As Guy left, he expressed anticipation for their next meeting. Diablo let out a sigh of relief, acknowledging that he narrowly avoided a potential conflict with Guy. He recognized Guy's formidable strength and admitted his own need for improvement to better handle such situations in the future. With a self-deprecating chuckle, Diablo contemplated the necessity of getting stronger, his laughter echoing in the empty space. Deep inside the cathedral, Louis and Laplace were locked in a fierce battle. Louis swung his arms with great force, aiming to strike Laplace, who dodged effortlessly while maintaining a calm demeanor. As they moved outside the burial chamber, Laplace continued to evade Louis's attacks while engaging in conversation. Louis revealed that he and Roy, Laplace's deceased brother, were equally powerful but differed in temperament. Despite Laplace's superior observational skills, Louis remained confident in his ability to defeat him. Louis emphasized his individuality, stating that he was more than just Roy's brother, but Laplace remained indifferent to their personal history. Laplace seemed relaxed as he dodged Louis's attacks, showing that he was the one in control. Louis, however, intensified his assault, prompting Laplace to feel uncertain. Sensing danger, Laplace leapt away just in time to avoid Louis's powerful strike, which pulverized the ground where he had been standing. Louis acknowledged Laplace's evasion skill but assured him that he could still win without resorting to underhanded tactics. Laplace reflected on his past victory over Roy, emphasizing his serious approach to combat. Louis then revealed a skill called Blood Ray, which he used to conceal his magical presence. Despite Laplace's deeper sense of foreboding, Louis explained the skill, raising questions about his true intentions and motives. Laplace's gut feeling warned him that he was in danger, so he quickly resorted to a secret move to counter Louis's attack. Louis's declaration triggered an explosion that trapped Laplace, seemingly sealing his fate. However, Laplace survived, revealing his true identity as the reunited Bloody Lord, now possessing his original powers. Despite being battered, Laplace realized he couldn't defeat Louis and his allies and decided to retreat with footmen. Knowing they couldn't win, Laplace created a diversion and escaped from the battleground before things got worse. In the burial chamber, only Luminous and Maria Razzo remained. Luminous hesitated to attack Maria, recognizing her as the real deal due to her skill in combat. Wondering if Maria's body was being controlled by forbidden magic, Luminous pondered Granville's actions and the use of necromancy. Despite understanding the desire to see loved ones again, Luminous couldn't grasp the depths of sadness associated with death. Maria, once a trusted confidant of the hero Gren, now displayed remarkable strength against Luminous using various special skills. Luminous grew anxious, sensing she overlooked something important, especially when she realized a vital relic, the coffin of spirit-infused ice, was missing from the chamber. Luminous was overwhelmed with confusion and disbelief as she faced the reality of the stolen coffin. Despite Gunther's concern, she focused on analyzing the situation calmly. Accepting the facts, she channeled her anger into a fierce attack against Maria, blaming Granville for the theft. With a powerful scream, she unleashed her magic, destroying the burial chamber and creating a dangerous dimension of death. Ordering Gunther to find the invaders, she understood the grave consequences if they failed, prompting Gunther to act swiftly. Left alone, Luminous struggled to control her anger, knowing that acting impulsively would worsen the situation. She realized the grave consequences of the stolen Ark, which she had kept under strict guard to prevent disaster. Analyzing the situation carefully, she concluded that only someone as powerful as a demon lord could have taken it. Granville's diversion in the cathedral suggested a calculated plan, leaving her determined to uncover his true motives. Despite feeling eerie about his resolve, she resolved to find out why he targeted the coffin, knowing that weakness was unacceptable in this critical moment. With a whisper, she set her sights on the cathedral, determined to unravel Granville's intentions. In their sword fight, it appeared as if Leon and Rimuru were engaged in a serious bout. Despite Rimuru's efforts to convey their intentions, Leon's relentless attacks left Rimuru questioning whether he truly understood. Observing Leon's expressionless face, Rimuru couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty about trusting him. However, they decided to synchronize their plans using Predict Future Attack to ensure coordination. Rimuru felt relieved knowing Raphael's auto-battle mode could handle the situation. However, another concern arose as they sensed rumblings underground, likely caused by Luminous, who had yet to appear. The ongoing struggles against Razul and Granville added to Rimuru's worries, especially with Hinata's potential disadvantage if her fight prolonged. Amidst the chaos, a massive burst of magical power erupted from below, indicating Luminous's serious involvement. The resulting blast opened a hole in the cathedral's flooring, showcasing Luminous's formidable strength. Rimuru couldn't help but acknowledge Granville's antagonistic intentions amidst the chaos. Luminous emerged from the hole, holding a beautiful woman, clearly indicating her desire to kill Granville. As tension rose, Granville admitted to creating the woman as a masterpiece infused with power from selected individuals. However, Luminous dismissed her as a mere imitation, emphasizing that true strength couldn't be replicated. Granville, unfazed by Luminous's anger, effortlessly defended against Hinata's attacks, showcasing his exceptional skill honed through years of training. Recognizing Granville's prowess, Leon acknowledged him as a former hero. Despite their conversation, Luminous remained focused on Granville, questioning his intentions with the hero. Luminous gently laid down the woman in her arms, revealing her lifeless state, a mere vessel for servitude. She questioned Granville's treatment of the deceased woman, named Maria, who bore a resemblance to Maribel. Granville explained his actions were for this moment, then uncovered his glowing left hand, transferring Maria's essence into himself. Witnessing this transformation, Leon and the others were astonished as Granville rejuvenated into his youthful form, powered by the love energy extracted from Maria. Granville acknowledged Luminous, explaining that he rejuvenated himself using love energy and other powers. He expressed his need to settle matters with her, despite his ambitions being dashed after Maribel's death. Both Luminous and Hinata reacted strongly to his words. Granville then turned to Hinata, praising her talent and dedication before surprising everyone with a remarkable sword technique called Melt Slash, showcasing his ability to control spiritual particles without delay. Hinata managed to dodge Granville's attack, surprising everyone with her agility. Granville's skill in handling overblade techniques with ease left everyone astounded. He questioned why Hinata never became a hero despite her talent and dedication, suggesting it was due to a lack of love from elemental spirits. Hinata responded defiantly, admitting that some things are beyond one's control. Granville then struck a nerve by insinuating that Hinata harbored darkness within her, leading her to angrily confront him, fueled by her emotions. The ringing clash of swords resonated through the air as Granville remained resolute while Hinata was forcefully pushed back. The striking difference in their abilities left Rimuru questioning the scene before him, witnessing Hinata seemingly overwhelmed. Granville pressed Hinata to embrace the light and release her darkness, but she vehemently rejected his counsel. He expressed disappointment at his inability to guide her further, suggesting that she needed to confront her past to safeguard what was important to her. This intense exchange captured the attention of everyone present, prompting doubts about Granville's intentions and his underlying motives. The blade came down in a swift, lethal motion, aiming to strike Chloe with disintegration. Knowing he couldn't reach them in time, Rimuru dashed toward the impending danger. Though he calculated he wouldn't make it, he summoned Belzebuth to intercept the attack and protect Chloe. With a desperate cry of her name, he watched as events unfolded in an instant. Hinata acted first, swiftly positioning herself between Chloe and the incoming attack. She absorbed the blow meant for Chloe, taking the hit directly to her chest and falling to the ground, injured but still shielding Chloe from harm. Following her lead, Venom rushed forward to shield Chloe as well, showing unwavering dedication to Diablo's orders. Despite the pain, he managed to intercept the attack, expressing his discomfort as he did so. Venom seemed oddly calm despite the gaping hole in his stomach, a testament to Demon's resilience. With Hinata and Venom buying precious time, Rimuru rushed to Chloe's side, using his abilities to teleport and shield her with Uriel's absolute defense. Chloe, worried about Hinata, ran towards her despite Rimuru's attempts to stop her. Concerned for Chloe's safety, Rimuru used paralyzing breath to immobilize the other kids and instructed Venom to protect them after giving him a healing potion. Meanwhile, Luminous tended to Hinata's wounds, urging her to hang on. Leon's suspicious behavior towards Chloe after saw her could wait as Rimuru chased after Chloe and rushed to Hinata's side, observing Granville cautiously. Luminous urgently noted that the spiritual particles from the melt strike were rapidly consuming Hinata's essence, despite her physical wounds being healed. Even Luminous, skilled in holy magic, couldn't counteract the severity of Granville's attack. Hinata struggled to stay conscious, her resolve unyielding despite her dire condition. With blood on her lips, she managed to smile towards Chloe, raising her moonlight sword-bearing hand as a gesture of reassurance. Chloe's teacher, Hinata, gave her something special before disappearing. Hinata said Chloe could do better than her. Chloe touched Hinata's hand and then Hinata glowed, and the light went into Chloe. Time seemed to stop. Chloe got scared and screamed. When Rimuru called her, Chloe vanished suddenly. He suddenly snapped back to attention, wondering where Chloe went. Rimuru, looking confused, had no idea either. Leon grabbed him, demanding answers, but he didn't know what to say. They all looked around, panicked. Even Raphael, usually reliable, was clueless. No time to ponder, they had to figure out what happened. Luminous wasn't worried about Chloe disappearing, she was focused on Hinata. She tried to bring Hinata back with a spell, but it didn't work, making her sad. Granville interrupted her, saying everything was going according to plan. Luminous was furious and vowed to make him pay. She was filled with rage and despair, feeling powerless. Suddenly, her emotions triggered something inside her, and she evolved a skill called Asmodeus, ruler of lust, from her unique skill Lust. In that moment, Luminous's power evolved even more, reaching the heights of Asmodeus, ruler over life and death. The feeling of powerlessness from Hinata's death triggered this evolution, but Luminous didn't care anymore. She was consumed by rage and declared her intent to settle things with Granville. Ignoring the world language, she confronted him with hatred in her eyes. The image of the disappeared girl briefly crossed her mind, but she pushed it away. The battle between Luminous and Granville, a rivalry spanning over 1,000 years, began. All he could do was watch as Luminous tried to heal Hinata's wounds, but the resurrection spell didn't work, even though it should have restored her. He couldn't understand why. The system said Hinata's soul was gone, and nothing could bring it back. Rimuru couldn't believe it. Hinata's soul was gone. He recognized the difference from her previous fall, and he knew Luminous did too. Souls don't usually disappear so quickly, so there was no hope of a mistake. Seeing how affected Luminous was, Rimuru realized they must have been closer than he realized. This situation concerned him deeply, and he struggled to understand why it was happening. Amidst his thoughts, Luminous's fierce declaration snapped him back to reality, making him realize how distracted he had been. Getting lost in thought during battle was dangerous, so Rimuru refocused on the task at hand. He pushed aside his sadness for later and concentrated on the present. Luminous's words puzzled him, but he decided to think about them later. Keeping calm was crucial. If he lost control, everything Hinata and others had worked for would be in vain. Just as he managed to compose himself, a massive explosion rocked the cathedral. Rimuru quickly moved to protect the children and musicians, relieved to see Diablo's protective barrier shielding Xian and the others. Despite the chaos, Xian remained focused on the enemy, her intense expression captivating yet concerning. Rimuru decided to leave the fight to Xian and Ranga for now, trusting them to handle it. Examining the cause of the explosion, Rimuru sensed a massive evil aura, sending chills down his spine and creating intense pressure. It felt similar to the high-level elemental spirit that fused with Chloe, but with some differences. The presence was enormous, reminiscent of the power he felt with Chloe. A report indicated that it was a material body with an unusual amount of existential energy, equivalent to Vildora's level. Realizing the presence was a formidable foe, Rimuru felt a surge of anxiety. He hoped it operated on instinct like the Chaos Dragon, as he could handle that, but if it possessed sentience and battle experience, he was in trouble. The energy it emitted far surpassed his own, leaving him with a daunting task ahead. As the smoke cleared, a stunning naked woman emerged, captivating Rimuru's attention momentarily before he refocused on the situation. Luminous confronted Yuki, who had just arrived, revealing his involvement in the events. Despite his lingering trust in Yuki, Rimuru couldn't ignore Raphael's warnings and chose to prioritize his trust in Raphael. Without any surprise, Rimuru turned his cold gaze towards Yuki, questioning his involvement. Yuki, unfazed, admitted his role casually, revealing his shameless nature. Behind him stood two unfamiliar figures wearing masks, likely Laplace and footmen from the Moderate Jesters. Yuki introduced himself to Luminous, who was focused on him despite her attention on Granville. Yuki explained his unique ability, anti-skill, which cancelled magic and special skills, prompting Luminous's disdainful reaction. As Luminous and Granville engaged in a fierce battle, their expert dueling surpassed mere skill. Yeah, well, Rimuru already knows, so there's no point hiding it. But I want to ask you something too. Well, not you, but Granville over there, Yuki said casually, though his eyes were scanning the area vigilantly. He knew he couldn't escape easily as long as Leon and Rimuru had freedom of movement. Rimuru couldn't understand why Yuki showed up at this point. It seemed he didn't expect this turn of events. With many uncertainties, moving around would be risky. Rimuru decided to listen to Yuki and Granville's conversation to understand the situation better. Observing the exchange between Yuki and Granville, Rimuru couldn't believe what he was hearing. Learning that the girl, Cronoa, was a hero-turned personification of evil left him baffled. Granville's revelation about her newfound power and his declaration to eradicate all demon lords and servants of evil added further tension to the already chaotic situation. Yuki, sounding defeated, acknowledged his defeat in their game of wits. As Cronoa began to move, Rimuru sensed the impending escalation into chaos. Rimuru decided to focus on survival for now and delegated Diablo to handle the area. Though Diablo seemed to have something to say, he acquiesced without argument, sensing the seriousness of the situation. With the chaos unfolding around him, Rimuru pondered his next move. Luminous and Granville were at a standstill, Xian and Rongo were locked in battle with Razul, and Yuki's group was attempting to escape. Though Rimuru didn't plan to let them go, his main concern was Cronoa, who posed a greater threat. Unsure of whom to trust, Rimuru felt isolated, with few allies and many enemies, leaving him in a dire and challenging situation. Cronoa's eyes opened, revealing a single bracelet around her wrist emitting black particles, forming a sturdy black armor similar to Hinata's Holy Spirit armor but stronger. She summoned a beautiful rapier resembling Hinata's Moonlight, but with a jet-black blade, which reports indicated surpassed Legend class, possibly reaching God class. Rimuru realized the severity of the situation, understanding that Cronoa's weapons were superior and posed a serious threat, making it a do-or-die scenario. Rimuru didn't need Raphael's analysis to realize how terrifying Cronoa was. Trusting his instincts, he activated absolute defense and started evading. Just as he moved, a dark beam of light narrowly missed him, destroying everything in its path. It was a close call, and Rimuru knew luck played a role in his survival. Raphael clarified that even with absolute defense, spiritual particles could still penetrate, requiring precise prediction and interference to cancel them out. The enemy's attack exceeded expectations, making prediction challenging and the situation even more dire. Unable to defend against Cronoa's attack, despite absolute defense, Rimuru didn't dwell on it and credited his quick thinking for evading the strike. Observing Cronoa's prowess, he noticed her targeting Yuki next, who sustained a minor injury. Rimuru couldn't help but find it amusing, despite the seriousness of the situation. Even Yuki's anti-skill proved ineffective against Cronoa's physical attacks, highlighting its limitations. Rimuru contemplated potential strategies while others fought, considering the deployment of Summon Storm Dragon from Vildora's ultimate skill. Excited by the idea, Rimuru decided to use his secret move, Summon Storm Dragon, despite the large crowd. He didn't want to risk keeping it hidden and facing potential consequences, especially after losing someone like Hinata. Calling upon Vildora through a soul corridor, Rimuru sought his help, and despite Vildora's initial playful demeanor, he agreed to lend his powers. With Vildora's consent, Rimuru launched Summon Storm Dragon, unleashing a powerful wind that swept over the cathedral in a matter of moments. Leon was left speechless, fearing he might have arrived too late to find his childhood friend, Chloe, after years of searching. Initially suspecting Rimuru, he quickly dismissed the thought, realizing something unexpected had occurred. Despite the setback, Leon refused to give up hope, convincing himself that another opportunity would arise. However, as a new formidable enemy emerged, he understood the gravity of the situation. Witnessing Yuki narrowly dodge an attack, Leon belatedly recognized the battlefield he stood in, realizing the danger he now faced. Near the cathedral wall, people knocked out of battle lay unconscious, deposited there by Rimuru to keep them safe. Unaware of this, Leon's focus was on the mysterious disappearance of Chloe, causing him to lose his composure and let his guard down. A blast of magic aimed at Cronoa caught her attention, revealing Leon's presence. Realizing the imminent danger, Leon understood he couldn't afford any distractions. Despite his status as a demon lord, he faced a formidable threat in Cronoa, and he knew he had to give his all in combat to stand a chance, with no room for error. On one side of the battle, Yuki's group cheered for Tear's intervention, acknowledging her clever move. Originally intended to provoke Rimuru against Leon, Tear's plan succeeded in a different way, allowing Yuki's group to escape. Despite being targeted by Cronoa, Yuki remained composed, ensuring Tear's safe return and initiating their retreat with Laplace's help. With Yuki's power to modify barriers, they swiftly departed the battlefield, acknowledging the likelihood of future enmity with those they left behind. Thus, Yuki and his team left, their escape facilitated by Yuki's unique ability. Observing Yuki and his cohorts' escape stirred resentment in the observer initially. However, upon reflection, it seemed like a blessing in disguise. Dealing with multiple potential adversaries could have complicated matters, so facing only one opponent increased the chances of success. Leveraging the influence of the Western Holy Church and gaining Luminous's support could discredit Yuki in the West, while the backing of the Free Guild, aligned with the Council currently at odds with Luminous, ensured that defeating Yuki today would neutralize him as a threat. Convincing themselves not to dwell on Yuki's escape, Rimuru focused on the enemy before them. Veldora recognized the girl as the hero who sealed him away, admiring her beauty despite the circumstances. Rimuru urged Veldora to take action against her, seeing her as a threat Luminous intended as insurance. Veldora, eager for a rematch, volunteered to confront her. Although Rimuru doubted Veldora's newfound strength in human form, they encouraged him with a smile, hoping for the best as Veldora headed into battle. Rimuru decided to heal Leon, who was badly injured and facing a formidable opponent. They were impressed by Leon's resilience and realized the seriousness of the situation, especially after seeing Luminous's wariness towards the enemy. Summoning Veldora was their last resort, knowing that even a true dragon would struggle against Cronoa. Despite Leon's injuries, he assured Rimuru that he could still fight. Cherries, who was inadvertently summoned along with Veldora, also joined the conversation, expressing regret for misunderstanding Shizu Aizawa's intentions. Rimuru trusted Leon's resolve and agreed to support him, while Cherries pledged to defend the area. With their roles defined, they prepared for the final confrontation, each ready to play their part in the upcoming battle. Hinata felt exhausted as memories flooded her mind, drawing her into a deep abyss. She recalled moments from her past, remembering her family and the struggles they faced when her father's company went bankrupt. Despite her father's efforts, their lives fell apart, leading to her mother's mental breakdown. Hinata harbored resentment toward her father, blaming him for their misfortunes and refusing to forgive him, all while trying to ignore her own unhappiness. Deep in her thoughts, Hinata pondered the complexities of family and justice, reflecting on her father's weaknesses and her own struggles with forgiveness. She found solace in the ideal of rescuing others, but as exhaustion weighed heavy on her, she felt drawn to the comforting embrace of darkness. Just as she began to drift into sleep, a sudden voice shattered the tranquility, jolting her back to consciousness. Awakening to a sudden scream, Hinata found herself in a strange place, realizing she was inside Chloe. Confused by her situation, she listened as Chloe explained that she had saved her from being swallowed by an unlimited imprisonment. Following Chloe's guidance, Hinata synchronized with her and discovered a point of light, which she approached, leading her to regain consciousness. Grateful for Chloe's help, Hinata thanked her as she comprehended her current state of being inside Chloe's soul. Chloe explained to Hinata that when she was stabbed, her soul moved into Chloe's body, creating an unusual situation. Despite Chloe's explanation, Hinata remained skeptical but had other concerns about Rimuru and the others. Chloe then revealed that they had traveled back to a distant past, pointing out a mountain that seemed familiar to Hinata. Hinata felt a surge of panic as she spotted the Riola Mountains in the distance, realizing they were standing on a grassy plain where a city should have been. Chloe assured her they had traveled back in time, which seemed unbelievable to Hinata at first. However, considering the absence of any city or ruins, Hinata began to accept Chloe's explanation. She questioned Chloe about how she knew they were in the past, wondering if it could be the distant future instead. Chloe confidently explained that her uncontrollable power often sent her back in time, giving her memories of the past. Hinata, still processing the situation, demanded more details from Chloe, here tone tinged with a hint of urgency. Chloe's revelation about her time-traveling ability left Hinata astonished. Chloe explained that her skill allowed her to recall events from her past, which included both past experiences and future events she had yet to live through. However, these memories were not always clear and often became muddled over time. Chloe recounted how she discovered this ability when Rimuru rescued her and implanted an embodiment of her future powers within her. This embodiment, which was sentient, hinted at Chloe's future demise. Chloe shared her experiences of repeating the same cycle, with memories only from the last iteration, and how her time travels were limited to the same era. Hinata listened silently as Chloe detailed her memories, including Rimuru's apparent death in a previous cycle and the changes in her current cycle's memories leading up to her visit to the dwelling of the spirits. In the previous cycle, Rimuru narrowly missed encountering Hinata after rescuing the children and returned to Tempest using spatial motion. He had already demonstrated his strength by defeating many other worlders, making neighboring nations wary. The kingdom of Pharmus remained a threat, and rumors circulated about incidents among the 10 great demon lords. Despite facing interference from Pharmus, Rimuru persisted in building alliances with other nations, including forming a friendship with Grandmaster Yuki. The establishment of a school in Tempest allowed Chloe and others to receive education alongside monster children. However, tensions rose when Hinata led a suppression force against Tempest at the Council of the West's behest. After a duel between Hinata and Rimuru ended in a draw and intervention from the children, Hinata began to trust Rimuru as she uncovered Pharmus's sinister activities through her investigations of Tempest. In the following 5 years, Rimuru continued to lead the Forest of Jura without becoming a demon lord, keeping busy with his responsibilities. His peaceful relationship with Hinata helped maintain good relations with Lubelius, especially since Luminous favored him for some reason. During this time, Chloe grew stronger and formed a friendship with the demon lord Milim, often visiting Tempest to see her. But then, everything changed when the Empire attacked. Chloe recalled how she pleaded with Rimuru not to go to battle, fearing the Empire's strength and their scary weapons. Despite her worries, Rimuru reassured her and gave her Shizu's mask as a token of comfort. This event, happening in both the future and the past, repeated itself often, Chloe explained. Rimuru left for battle but never returned, and Tempest fell as Veldora, suddenly revived, went on a rampage. Luminous, Hinata, Chloe and others had to fight Veldora to save everyone, if not the entire human race would be in danger. But before they could finish the fight, someone hurt Hinata badly, and Chloe found herself sent back in time, not knowing what would happen next. Chloe's time loops often followed a similar pattern, with Hinata's death being a crucial event each time. Reflecting on this, Hinata couldn't help but feel a bit uneasy about her repeated demise. However, Chloe noted that this time was different. In previous loops, Rimuru always left before Chloe did, never getting the chance to say goodbye. But this time, Rimuru was still around when Chloe was sent back. This difference gave Hinata hope that they might break the cycle and find a new outcome. Hinata and Chloe couldn't shake the feeling of optimism, despite the uncertainties. Chloe revealed that she recalled some details from her future self while at the dwelling of the spirits, which prompted her to intervene with Rimuru in Inglesia and acquire the mask once again. This newfound knowledge raised questions about what triggered the changes in the time loop. Hinata pondered the possibilities, wondering if there was a way to reach that future and finally break the cycle of repeating events. Hinata focused on the mask, realizing its significance in their current circumstances. If Chloe already possessed it, there was no need to worry about its absence for Shizu in this iteration. Impressed by Chloe's foresight, Hinata decided to trust in their plan for the future. However, Chloe's sudden declaration of love caught her off guard, reminding Hinata of Chloe's youthful innocence. Despite the absurdity of the notion, Hinata couldn't help but entertain the idea of a romantic connection between her and Rimuru, though she quickly dismissed it with a chuckle. Sensing Chloe's urgency to move forward, Hinata changed the subject. Reflecting on Chloe's immense knowledge and experience, Hinata realized she had misjudged her as a naive child. Their first task was to locate Luminous, a familiar face from their past who was still alive in this time period. Chloe, with her determined demeanor, led the way confidently, explaining how she had witnessed a massive war involving Veldora and Luminous in a previous cycle. Determined to win Luminous's trust early on and enlist her help, Chloe aimed to intervene before Veldora's rampage began. With Chloe's keen sense of direction, they reached Nitro's castle, Luminous's stronghold, which impressed Hinata with its grandeur. Chloe boldly approached the castle guards, declaring her intention to see Luminous, much to Hinata's surprise. Despite Hinata's concerns, Chloe remained undeterred, convinced that Luminous would recognize her as a friend, even though they hadn't met yet in this timeline. As Chloe realized her mistake about mixing up memories, Hinata felt a sense of foreboding about their future endeavors. Recognizing Chloe's tendency to act impulsively due to her repeated experiences, Hinata proposed taking the lead to prevent any inadvertent changes to history. Chloe agreed, understanding the gravity of the situation. Hinata felt relieved but also apprehensive, realizing the potential consequences of altering history. When they finally reached Luminous, Chloe confidently persuaded the guards to let them in, drawing on her past experiences. Although Hinata remained wary, she decided to trust Chloe's judgment for now, hoping they could avoid further mistakes. "So this big bad dragon is heading our way soon?" Luminous inquired skeptically. Chloe affirmed, urging Luminous to evacuate due to Veldora's impending destructive rampage. Hinata, feeling uneasy, advised Chloe on how to approach Luminous, emphasizing the importance of providing evidence and calculating the timing of Veldora's attack. Luminous, cautious yet intrigued, probed for evidence while considering Chloe's credibility. Despite her doubts, she offered Chloe accommodation in the castle, withholding her final decision until later. Hinata watched, hoping their plan would succeed while acknowledging the uncertainty of the situation. Soon after, Veldora arrived, and Luminous valiantly confronted the dragon. Chloe was eager to join the fray, but Hinata intervened, reminding her of their plan. Hinata urged Chloe to forget her other memories and focus on their current objective, gaining Luminous's trust by following their previous actions. They knew revealing information about the current loop could jeopardize their connection to the future. Chloe, understanding the gravity of the situation, agreed to adhere to their plan, recognizing the importance of preserving their link to the future. As Veldora devastated the castle, Chloe's warning minimized human casualties, aligning with Hinata's historical teachings. Luminous, impressed by Chloe's foresight, developed a strong trust in her. Behind closed doors, Chloe recounted her tale to Luminous, internally consulting Hinata throughout. She explained her memories extending 2,000 years into the future, where she becomes a hero before Rimuru emerges, leading to their deaths. Luminous, understanding Chloe's desire to retrace her steps without altering the future drastically, expressed acceptance of the future described, albeit lamenting Hinata's fate. She acknowledged the limitations of asking much from a friend yet to be met. Luminous, despite her intimidating appearance, revealed her gentle nature by agreeing to cooperate with Chloe's plan. Pleased with Luminous's support, Chloe affirmed her commitment to helping those in need as a hero, earning Luminous's approval. However, they faced a dilemma regarding Chloe's identity. Concerned about arousing suspicion, they decided on the alias Chronoa, combining Chloe's name with Chronos, the overseer of time. Hinata's suggestion to avoid similarity to Chloe's real name ensured their cover. Thus, Chronoa became Chloe's new identity, marking the first recording of the name in history. Leaving their ruined castle behind, Luminous and her group embarked on a journey to find a new home, with Chloe by their side. As they traveled, Chloe wondered why her usurper skill disappeared, suspecting it might have merged with Hinata's abilities. Despite their squabbles, they continued their journey. Eventually, they arrived 300 years before their last leap backward, just before Veldora's sealing. Chloe, now known as Chronoa, planned to seal Veldora with Hinata's support. Surprisingly, Hinata revealed her intention to confront Veldora herself, having fought him before. With Luminous's support, they engaged Veldora in battle, successfully sealing him away with Chloe's assistance. Despite her conflicted feelings towards Veldora, Chloe trusted Hinata's judgment and allowed her to take the lead in the final showdown. As Chloe's time was coming to an end, she revealed to Luminous and Hinata that she would soon disappear because of an upcoming event involving another version of herself, Leon. Hinata feared the consequences of multiple versions of Chloe existing simultaneously and pondered the nature of reality and paradoxes. Luminous assured them that she would preserve Chloe's soul and ensure her return in the future. Hinata agreed to continue their mission with Luminous's help, trusting her to safeguard Chloe's soul. Together, they entrusted their fates to Luminous and left her to handle their futures with a unified resolve. With Chloe gone, Hinata felt overwhelmed by anxiety and pressure, fearing the chaos that Chronoa might bring. Despite this, she remained resolute, determined to fulfill their mission. Hinata successfully rescued Shiju and handed over the mysterious mask, marking a significant accomplishment. Traveling with Shizu felt familiar but bittersweet, knowing their time together was limited. Unable to control Cronoa without Chloe's main personality, Hinata reluctantly followed the course of history, parting ways with Shizu and relying on Luminous to preserve their plan. As Hinata settled into the arc, she pondered what would become of her once another Hinata, unaware of their situation, emerged in the world. Despite the uncertainty, she remained hopeful, trusting in Rimuru to guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. With a nostalgic smile, Hinata closed her eyes, finding comfort in memories of the slime from her past adventures. Back to the current timeline, as Veldora faced Cronoa, he immediately began complaining about being cut. It was understandable, considering he tried to stop a sword with his bare hands. Even though the sword was top-notch, trying to block it with bare hands was just asking for trouble. Despite his confidence, Veldora found himself in a tough spot. Cronoa's attacks were sharper and more damaging than before, especially with her absolute severance skill. Veldora tried to defend himself, but in his human form, he couldn't match his dragon form's durability. He dodged Cronoa's attacks, but he couldn't avoid getting scratched. While he healed quickly, it drained his magicules faster than in his dragon form. However, instead of panicking, Rimuru saw it as a valuable lesson for Veldora and decided to let him continue distracting Cronoa. Rimuru turned towards Leon, who was summoning a rapier under Cheris's protection. Despite only a short time passing, it felt like an eternity as Leon summoned the weapon. He apologized for the delay, explaining he needed his flame pillar, his preferred weapon from his hero days. The rapier was a god-class blade, fitting for an ex-hero and current demon lord like him. He also had a legend-class shield, called the Gold Circle, on his left hand, though Rimuru doubted it could stop Cronoa's blade. Nevertheless, Leon was ready with his equipment. As Rimuru contemplated launching a counterattack, Luminous was suddenly propelled in his direction. Worried momentarily, Rimuru realized she was unharmed. It seemed to be a deliberate act. Then, through a mental message, Luminous conveyed shocking news. Cronoa was Chloe's alternate self, possibly housing Hinata's soul. This bombshell left Rimuru bewildered amidst the chaos of battle. Meanwhile, Leon marched towards Cronoa and Luminous departed, leaving Rimuru to grapple with this revelation. The raffle report confirmed that Cronoa and Chloe were essentially the same person, suggesting that Chloe traveled through time and matured into Cronoa. This realization left Rimuru pondering the implications. Rimuru couldn't shake off the confusion. Luminous was busy fighting Granville, leaving no room for explanations. It felt like something out of a science fiction tale: time travel, a concept difficult to grasp. Yet, Chloe's sudden disappearance was undeniable. Raffles' report hinted at the possibility of Chloe leaping through time, explaining the inexplicable nature of her vanishing act. It seemed one couldn't observe time travel without possessing the ability to intervene in it. Understanding time could be tricky, but maybe it's not necessary to fully comprehend it. Perhaps just acknowledging its existence makes things easier to grasp. Reflecting on the situation, Rimuru considered the possibility that when attempting to rescue young Chloe, something from the future was summoned instead. If Cronoa, the spiritual entity causing chaos, originated from the future and traveled back to the past, then it's plausible that this temporal anomaly occurred. So that's why Ramirez was so agitated before. If she sensed the evil aura emanating from Cronoa, it makes sense why she tried to intervene. But there's no use dwelling on it now. If Chloe indeed traveled through time, what's her current situation? What's happening right at this moment? According to Rafel's report, it's impossible for multiple instances of the same soul to coexist in the same space and time. It's believed that this led to a rejection, causing one of the souls to be sent into the past. However, the Ark, a barrier powered by Luminous Valentine, was designed to contain a soul. Observing the unfolding situation, Rimuru pondered the possibility of Chloe's and Hinata's souls residing within Cronoa. Accepting the likelihood, Rimuru contemplated the next steps. Directing Leon to prioritize defense over attack, Rimuru expressed gratitude for his trust. Surprised by the ease of their interaction, Rimuru appreciated Leon's newfound casual demeanor. Turning to Veldora, Rimuru issued an order, met with immediate compliance. Despite the absence of detailed instructions, Rimuru acknowledged Veldora's readiness. With a sense of contentment, Rimuru prepared to implement the plan, buoyed by Veldora's unwavering belief. Inwardly reflecting, Rimuru acknowledged a selfish motive in avoiding harm to Cronoa or Chloe, recognizing it as a bet on uncertain assumptions. Despite the daunting odds, Rimuru opted to proceed optimistically. Addressing Leon and Veldora, Rimuru led with confidence, receiving their cooperation. Noting Leon's potential awareness of Klonoa's identity, Rimuru refrained from elaborating further, focusing instead on the ongoing battle. Observing Leon's struggle, Rimuru pondered the next steps, mindful of the need for caution due to potential monitoring by the Demon Lord Guy. Receiving a thought communication from Diablo, Rimuru realized their concern for the unfolding events. Concerned about Klonoa's potential eavesdropping, Rimuru opted for this method to avoid detection. Diablo suggested a more direct approach involving astral projection, which posed significant danger. Despite the higher chance of success, Rimuru hesitated due to the peril involved. That's why Raphael hadn't mentioned it earlier, Rimuru realized upon Diablo's suggestion. Grateful for the insight, Rimuru felt a weight of responsibility in choosing the best course of action. Concerned about Diablo's tendency to boast, Rimuru considered the potential consequences, hoping to avoid unwanted attention. Pondering how to calm Klonoa, Cherry suggested using the mask previously given to Chloe, prompting Rimuru to recall its significance and wonder about its current whereabouts and where did that mask come from. Rimuru put aside thoughts about the mask's origin and focused on replicating it. With Raphael's help, he created a copy effortlessly. Showing the mask to Cherries, Rimuru grinned in appreciation. Ready to act, he approached Klonoa, who was locked in a duel with Leon. Calling out to Veldora, Rimuru rushed forward and placed the mask on Klonoa's face, hoping it would calm her. As he did, darkness enveloped his consciousness. Back to Xian and Ranga. An explosion from Razul sent Xian and Ranga flying through the wall. As Razul approached calmly, Xian faced him without any sign of fear, showing her resilience. Meanwhile, Ranga, lacking Xian's quick healing ability, struggled to get back up. However, with his strong defenses and evasion skills gifted by Rimuru, he prepared to face Razul once again. Xian stepped up to defend Ranga against Razul, acknowledging his strength, but insisting that she could handle the situation. Despite Razul's formidable power, Xian remained determined, readying her sword for battle. However, Razul's armored exoskeleton proved to be an impenetrable defense against Xian's attacks, leaving her frustrated. As Razul launched a powerful counterattack, Xian faced the blow head-on, showcasing her unwavering resolve. Now Xian showed a newfound maturity, understanding the importance of considering the bigger picture. She realized that her death here would disadvantage her entire side, so she focused on prolonging the battle rather than blindly seeking victory. This shift in mindset also prompted her to give Ranga some rest, ensuring he wouldn't be too tired to fight later. But her determination for victory remained strong, fueled by her desire to earn praise from Sir Rimuru. As she faced Razul, Xian's fighting style evolved, reflecting Hakuro's teachings and emphasizing skill over brute force. Her polished techniques showcased her growth and resilience in the face of adversity. As Xian attacked Razul with all her might, her strikes carried the force of her unique skill, Master Chef, aimed at cracking his tough exoskeleton. Despite being deflected multiple times, Xian persisted, relentlessly targeting the same spot, determined to break through. She seemed to defy the laws of nature, unwavering in her belief that she could overcome her formidable opponent. Meanwhile, Razul remained composed, calmly parrying Xian's attacks with precision. Despite Xian's efforts, Razul appeared unfazed, demonstrating his overwhelming strength. Xian pushed herself to her limits, even resorting to her Ogre Berserker skill, but it felt like she was barely scratching the surface of Razul's power, struggling to keep up with his prowess. Razul's movements flowed smoothly like a river, but suddenly his attacks intensified, overwhelming Xian. She had been constantly pushing her limits, and now her spiritual energy was drained. Without Ranga's support, Razul had her completely figured out, sensing she had nothing left to give. With a burst of power, Razul launched a relentless assault, offering Xian a chance to surrender. Unfazed, Xian remained determined, revealing her true intention to surpass her limits and serve Rimuru. With renewed determination, she clashed with Razul once more, even though her attacks were deflected. Xian's resolve remained unshaken as she stood her ground against Razul's taunts. As Xian faced Razul once more, she reflected on her past beliefs about power and weakness. As an ogress born into privilege, she once thought that the weak deserved to be exploited. However, her perspective began to change thanks to her teacher Hakuro and later, Rimuru's kindness. When she faced the possibility of death, she realized that true strength came from protecting others, not from dominating them. Saved by Rimuru, she felt a sense of belonging and protection she had never experienced before. Now standing against Razul's onslaught, Xian faced him with newfound resilience and understanding. Meanwhile, Ranga, lacking Xian's quick healing, struggled to rise once more, relying on his strong defenses and evasion skills granted by Rimuru as he prepared to confront Razul again. Even after their battle with the Crusaders, Rimuru's teachings continued to impact Xian. She had once harbored anger towards humans she perceived as enemies, but Rimuru helped her see that not all humans were bad. Understanding that a person's worth is determined by how they live, not by their strength or weakness, Xian learned to let go of envy and embrace her own value. Despite feeling inferior to Diablo, she realized that Rimuru would never abandon her, easing her fears. As a result, the negative emotions that once consumed her began to fade away. As Xian shifted her perspective, she realized there was no need to envy others, she only needed to surpass herself. Rather than viewing others as rivals, she focused on overcoming her own limitations, believing that continual growth and maturity were more valuable. This newfound mindset allowed her to shed her anxieties and encouraged her personal development. Under extreme circumstances, her unwavering determination led to the evolution of her intrinsic skill Ogre Berserker into the unique skill Divine Berserker, a testament to her relentless struggle and refusal to give up on victory. Let me tell you something, the goddess of victory always smiles upon those who never give up. Here we go, divine release without a moment's hesitation. Xian tapped into the freshly transformed unique skill Divine Berserker. Ogre Berserker had already used and abused her body, now every muscle screamed at the excessive burden. She used ultra-speed regeneration to shut them up. The unique skill Divine Berserker was, in essence, an upgraded version of Ogre Berserker. It wasn't a true Berserker-type move, abandoning all reason and going into a murderous rage. Instead, it simply boosted the user's stamina and spiritual force. Like Benimaru's magic burn, it was a bodily enhancement that granted her the essential force of a spiritual life form. But it was no panacea. It had one major disadvantage. In Xian's current state, her physical strength would be loaded on top of her spiritual body, but it consumed magicules at such a fast rate that she'd be running on empty in short order. The moment Xian unleashed Divine Berserker, she was pushing her body to its limits. Determined to end the fight, she focused on her next strike. Under the influence of Divine Berserker, a powerful mystical force radiated from her body, heightening her senses and amplifying her strength. With a command to Ranga, she charged up Goriki Maru version 2 with Dark Lightning, their combined attack aimed at Razul. Ignoring Razul's protests, Xian infused her sword with Chaotic Fate, granting her the ability to alter natural phenomena. With all her willpower behind it, she thrust the lightning-infused sword downward. But Razul's exoskeleton remained resilient against Xian's attacks, with only a minor scratch on his left arm. Yet, Xian saw potential in even this small success. Using her Master Chef unique skill, she applied optimal action and guarantee results to refine her strategy and guide her hand, maximizing the effectiveness of her attacks. With a sudden burst, the shattered blade soared into the air, signifying the end of Xian's sword. However, it was Razul who fell defeated. His left arm was severed, and a deep wound cut through his body from shoulder to abdomen, while the lightning attack had ravaged his internal organs. Razul collapsed in defeat, realizing his impending demise. With his last breath, he gazed towards Granville, still engaged in battle with Luminous. In his final moments, Razul expressed forgiveness and a hope to reunite in a promised land. As his life ebbed away, Xian and Ranga emerged victorious, securing their triumph over their opponent. Seeing Rimuru put the mask on Cronoa, Luminous hoped it would help them win. It was a big risk, betting everything on Rimuru, who had earned the trust of Chloe and Hinata. Luminous acted like she didn't know much about Rimuru, but she was actually worried because of what Chloe and Hinata had said about him before. She only joined the last Walpurgis because she heard Rimuru would be there. His becoming a demon lord wasn't what she expected based on the stories she heard. Even when talking with Hinata, she pretended not to know the truth. But as Chloe's story became more real, she stopped doubting it. That's why Luminous was never unfriendly to Rimuru from the beginning. However, recent events didn't match the stories Chloe and Hinata used to tell, causing Luminous great fear. As things diverged from what was expected, she worried that Cronoa, safeguarded in the Ark, wouldn't be revived correctly. Now her fears had come true, and unexpected events were unfolding rapidly. Just before the musical concert she eagerly awaited, her loyal assistant Granville revealed himself as a traitor. She had suspected his betrayal, but never imagined he would openly rebel against her like this. Now that Hinata was dead and Cronoa revived, Luminous saw Rimuru as her best hope to address these irregularities, despite his own unexpected survival. She felt hopeful as Rimuru attempted to reach Cronoa's soul using the same mask Chloe once wore. However, Granville interrupted with doubts about Chloe's return, questioning if her soul truly resides within Cronoa. This revelation surprised Luminous, realizing that Granville might have overheard their conversations over the years, causing her to feel uneasy. Yes, exactly as you expected. There's no quicker way to destroy this world than leaving it to someone stronger. Granville laughed with madness in his eyes. Luminous realized one of the battles had ended with Rimuru's officers emerging victorious, including Rizul's defeat. However, Granville expressed bitterness towards the world and his desire for its destruction, which Luminous vehemently opposed, pushing him aside. Granville quietly explained his hope for the world's destruction, reflecting his despair. Luminous was done with Granville's nonsense and urged him to face his despair alone. She brandished her sword, Nitros, while Granville countered with his own blade, Truth, both of God class. Granville, however, declared that he was filled with hope as the energy from Rizul's body infused him, evolving his skill Nefarious into the ultimate skill Suriel, Lord of Hope. This battle saw Granville ascending to new heights, reaching the pinnacle of power. Granville and Luminous, both possessing ultimate skills, faced off in a battle of life and death. They exchanged determined words before engaging in combat. Luminous swung her sword, Nitros, while Granville countered with his blade, Truth. Their clash resulted in a burst of crimson and blue energy as their ultimate skills, Asmodeus and Suriel, collided. Despite Granville's formidable power, it was Luminous who emerged victorious, standing tall after the intense confrontation. After placing the mask on Cronoa, Raphael guided Satoru into her spiritual realm. Surprisingly, it wasn't dark but rather bright, with an imaginary landscape. As Satoru moved forward mentally, he encountered Shizu, feeling a bit embarrassed by his past name. Despite wanting to be called Rimuru, he found it awkward. Nonetheless, having this imaginary space allowed for visits from deceased individuals like Shizu, who appeared without a mask, revealing her unburned face. Seeing her beauty made Satoru realize his own appearance resembled hers, leading to mixed feelings as he adjusted to his transformed self. Having Shizu with him made Satoru feel more confident as they advanced towards Cronoa, who appeared as a young girl filled with hatred. Surprisingly, Cronoa recognized Satoru as Rimuru and embraced him warmly, which was unexpected. Shizu, watching with amusement, referred to Satoru as a hero and patted Cronoa's head affectionately. Despite the ongoing warfare outside, this encounter felt heartwarming to Satoru, who realized that Cronoa resembled Chloe. Cronoa explained that she was an embodiment of corruption confined within Chloe, her alternate self given sentience by Hinata's naming. Satoru sensed there was a complicated backstory behind the situation but decided to confront Cronoa directly to understand her intentions. However, Cronoa surprised him by expressing that she was no longer interested in destroying the world and assured him of his safety, which made him uneasy yet relieved. When Cronoa mentioned Satoru sacrificing himself to save her, he apologized and promised to be more careful in the future, although he was confused as he didn't recall such an incident. This made him wonder if Cronoa's remarks were related to events yet to come for him, a possibility in future. Satoru felt a mix of emotions upon learning about Cronoa's situation, realizing he had to stick to his promise of avoiding reckless actions. He cautiously asked about Chloe and Hinata, hoping to gather more information without upsetting Cronoa. To his surprise, Cronoa revealed that Chloe was trapped in the unlimited imprisonment within her heart, as they couldn't both exist simultaneously. Additionally, Cronoa disclosed that Hinata was already deceased, contradicting what he had been told by Luminous. This revelation left Satoru puzzled and questioning the truth of what he had been told before. Satoru struggled to comprehend Cronoa's explanation about Hinata's death, especially considering the conversations Hinata had with Luminous. Cronoa clarified that Hinata's soul couldn't withstand Granville's attack, leading Chloe to absorb Hinata's soul and attempt to travel back in time, but Hinata couldn't survive the journey. Cronoa revealed that Hinata's consciousness remained due to her unique skill being rooted in her soul, preventing Cronoa from absorbing it fully. Satoru wondered if reviving Hinata would be possible by returning her skill to her body, but the sadness in Cronoa's voice suggested otherwise. Satoru listened to Cronoa's explanation about Hinata's soul being trapped in the unlimited imprisonment, making it impossible to revive her. Despite their hopes, Cronoa believed that Hinata's soul might have already integrated with everything else in the chaotic realm. Satoru remained determined to call for Hinata's return, encouraged by her strength, while Cronoa grieved for her. Shizu offered comfort with a gentle smile, trying to ease their sorrow. Satoru's worries faded as he focused on the task ahead. He asked Cronoa if there was a way to rescue Chloe and Hinata from the unlimited imprisonment. Cronoa explained that while she could sense the other Chloe's presence, unlocking the unlimited imprisonment would likely destroy their bodies due to the immense energy contained within. Satoru realized that with Crono controlling Chloe's powers, releasing such energy could be catastrophic. Unable to verify if Hinata's soul remained, they relied on Shizu's assurance. Satoru pondered using Raphael to intervene within the unlimited imprisont's energy, but learned it wasn't feasible without access to data particles. Raphael couldn't access the information inside the unlimited imprisonment, but it could unlock it. Cronoa surprised Rimuru by offering permission to intervene. Data particles, smaller than spiritual particles and present in everything, could be observed within limited spaces like Rimuru's stomach and Cronoa's unlimited imprisonment. With Cronoa's consent, Raphael could now interact with it. Raphael seemed happy, much like when Rimuru messes with his own skills. Things sped up quickly. Before Rimuru could react, Raphael was fully engaged. The unique skills Unlimited Imprisonment and Absolute Severance would now include Measurer. This change would cause an energy sacrifice, triggering the chance of evolution of an ultimate skill. Raphael kept working without asking for permission, which was unusual. Rimuru realized these skills weren't under their control, so approving or disapproving was pointless. Despite concerns, Cronoa's power evolved into the ultimate skill Yog Sothoth, Lord of Time. Even better, Cronoa transformed into a Manas, allowing her to switch with Chloe whenever needed. Rimuru felt uneasy about Raphael's actions but received no objections. Cronoa hugged Rimuru, expressing love despite their recklessness. Rimuru was surprised when Cronoa suddenly appeared in front of him, embracing him tightly and planting a kiss on his cheek. Her presence was unexpected, yet strangely comforting. As he relished in this surreal moment, Chloe, resembling a grown-up version of herself, joined them, adding to the uncanny resemblance between the two. Despite the fantastical nature of this encounter, Rimuru couldn't help but appreciate the company of these attractive individuals, even wishing momentarily that he was human. However, amidst his reverie, Hinata's arrival brought him back to reality. Despite his initial embarrassment, Rimuru expressed genuine happiness at seeing Hinata again, albeit uncertain about her safety. Hinata's sharp wit cut through Rimuru's attempt at flattery, prompting him to express his heartfelt joy at her return, even amidst the uncertainty surrounding their situation. Hinata responded with a thanks, her cheeks showing a hint of red. Rimuru wondered if she was becoming shy and if she might be developing feelings for him. However, Raphael's reports quickly dismissed Rimuru's assumptions, stating that they were incorrect. Watching Hinata and Shizu embrace, Rimuru felt emotional. Hinata apologized to Shizu for causing trouble and Shizu thanked her for rescuing her from Leon's castle. Then she praised Hinata's strength and credited her unique skill, Measurer, for helping her endure difficult situations. Rimuru acknowledged that Hinata hadn't changed at all, feeling a sense of admiration for her resilience. Hinata expressed concerns about her resurrection, but Shizu reassured her, encouraging her to keep growing and facing herself. Hinata hesitated but ultimately expressed belief in her revival. Shizu and Hinata then turned to Rimuru, questioning how long he would continue to be hugged by Chloe and Cronoa. Only after Hinata's remark did Rimuru realize they were still embracing him tightly. Cronoa expressed her desire to continue hugging Rimuru for a little longer, reminiscing about the past 2,000 years. Rimuru observed the situation, realizing that Chol's words could be easily misunderstood. He clarified that he wasn't actively involved, the twin clothes were simply enveloped in his slime body. Shizu intervened, gently urging the clothes to step back, as Shizu reminded them that she was just a projection in Rimuru's imagination. Rimuru acknowledged the ephemeral nature of the dream landscape, understanding that Hinata's presence was temporary. Hinata expressed her contentment, mentioning her satisfaction with the well-being of Kenya and others, as well as her appreciation for Rimuru's actions against Leon. She conveyed her growing fondness for the world before bidding farewell, expressing happiness and lacking any regrets. Chloe and Hinata tried to stop Shizu, but she just smiled at them contentedly. They understood her message and nodded back. "Take care of Hinata for me," Rimuru said Shizu, followed by Chloe and Hinata urging him to succeed. Feeling the pressure, Rimuru couldn't help but sweat. But he refused to give up, reminding himself not to lose confidence. He reassured them, "You got it. I'm gonna help you right now, Hinata." With his determination strengthened by his words, Rimuru left the dream landscape, ready to fulfill his promise. When Rimuru returned to reality, he found himself still in human form, unchanged from before. He stretched and refocused, recalling Shizu's fading smile from the dream space. Determined to live up to her expectations, he prepared to make one final effort. Rimuru asked his companions to stay alert for intruders while he dealt with the situation. Veldora and Leon readily agreed, providing a sense of relief. Rimuru knew they could handle any potential threats, including Yuki, if he returned. So Rimuru checked Hinata's body, noticing it was healed but had a hole in her clothing that needed covering. Wanting to be helpful, he used a spare coat to conceal it, though he wished for a better interaction with her. Moving on to the main task of resurrecting Hinata, he realized he couldn't do it alone due to the complexity of separating her consciousness from Chloe's. Rimuru sought assistance from Luminous, asking for help with the resurrection spell. Granville lay on the ground, weakened and bleeding after Luminous's strike, his expression calm yet hopeful. Despite his condition, he conveyed his final wishes to her, urging her to protect humanity and awaken Chrono properly. Luminous understood his sentiments and accepted the responsibility, striking him down to honor his wishes. She felt a twinge of loneliness as she comprehended his emotions. Rimuru's voice reached her, indicating the successful awakening of Chronoa or Chloe. Impressed by Rimuru's accomplishment, she praised him silently. With Granville's life ebbing away, he expressed his desire to pass his hopes to Chronoa. Though hesitant, Luminous agreed, showing her compassionate side. As Granville dissolved into light, Luminous bid him farewell, releasing him from his fate to rest peacefully. Luminous arrived confidently, having emerged victorious from her battle without a scratch on her. Rimuru hesitated to express his frustration, opting instead to focus on the task at hand, saving Hinata. He explained his plan to intervene in Chloe's unlimited imprisonment while Luminous retrieved Hinata's soul. Assured by Luminous's competence, Rimuru appreciated her assistance. With determination, they began their efforts, with Rimuru guiding Luminous to Hinata's soul. Luminous skillfully performed her magic, initiating the process of rebirth. Rimuru marveled at her extraordinary skills, realizing they surpassed his own abilities by far. Despite his attempts to analyze and assess, he concluded that Luminous's skill was equivalent to an ultimate skill. Rimuru felt confident in trusting the task to Luminous due to her impressive abilities. Together, they stood before the lifeless bodies of Chronoa and Hinata. Luminous utilized her powers to retrieve Hinata's soul, which had merged with Chloe's soul as measurer. After carefully extracting it, she injected a concentrated measure of energy to replace it, ensuring Hinata's revival. With Luminous's intervention, Hinata's body regained its vitality, and Chronoa also returned to her normal state as the foreign matter was removed. Rimuru marveled at the transformation, noting the divine aura surrounding Chloe's soul, which seemed beyond human. As Chloe opened her eyes, Rimuru wondered whether it was Chloe or Chronoa now. Chloe's voice confirmed her identity, but Rimuru noticed she looked like a child again, wearing a black outfit that fit her perfectly. Despite his initial disappointment, he brushed it off, realizing it was likely due to the Holy Spirit armor. However, he couldn't help but feel uneasy under Hinata's disapproving gaze and Leon's irritation. Attempting to diffuse the tension, Rimuru suggested regrouping elsewhere to sort things out, which everyone agreed to, providing a temporary respite from the tense atmosphere. With the battle concluded, peaceful melodies filled the air as Baton and the orchestra continued practicing tirelessly. Rimuru commended their dedication before allowing them a break. However, he noticed Chloe's increased presence, which Luminous dismissed as his imagination. Despite the interruption, Veldora and Rimuru exchanged knowing looks, acknowledging Luminous's sudden outburst and her unusual demeanor. No, Rimuru and Sir Veldora are right. Chloe seems like a lovely young woman, but her essence has improved, stated the Demon Lord Leon. Known for his straightforwardness, Leon showed a particular attachment to Chloe, which she didn't hesitate to criticize, highlighting his clinginess. Despite Leon's efforts for her, Rimuru refrained from further commentary, feeling a pang of discomfort. After gently scolding Leon, Chloe shared her realization of awakening as a hero, mentioning the merging of two eggs within her. She requested confidentiality about this development. She smiled a bit, surprising Rimuru, who then remembered the sensitivity of the topic. Concerned about potential eavesdropping, Rimuru attempted to steer the conversation away, but Chloe assured him they were safe. Despite her youthful appearance, Chloe showed signs of maturity, prompting Rimuru to reflect on the passage of time and her growth. It dawned on him that they were witnessing the emergence of Chloe Aubert, the true hero. Hinata and Chloe hadn't fully separated yet. Hinata's nurtured hero's egg remained within Chloe, resulting in one woman with two eggs, an extraordinary occurrence leading to the awakening of a unique hero. It wasn't just luck, it was Chloe's unwavering determination that brought about this outcome. Despite facing countless cycles of death and rebirth, Chloe's resilience and innocence remained intact, culminating in this remarkable feat. Witnessing her strength, Rimuru expressed admiration and vowed to emulate her perseverance. He promised to himself never to give up and to protect Chloe's smile at all costs, recognizing the threats against him and committing to take every necessary precaution for victory. As he returned Chloe's smile, he made a silent pledge to do whatever it takes to ensure success. That night, they compared notes, planning to delve deeper into discussions once things settled. From Leon, Rimuru learned about his close bond with Chloe from childhood, although the details remain mysterious. Leon's unwavering devotion to Chloe surpassed even Trainee's dedication to Ramirez. Chloe, capable of assuming an adult form like Cronoa, could switch between their consciousnesses seamlessly, opting to remain a child for simplicity's sake. Luminous shared insights into Granville's past, revealing his descent into madness following his wife's death and subsequent plan to awaken a true hero, driven by love for humanity despite the risk of world destruction. Rimuru empathized with Granville's grief, reflecting on his own losses and the profound impact of love and loss. The next day, they held an outdoor concert, the melancholic music serving as a tribute to those lost and a symbol of hope for the future. In the dream, Maria, now awake, pondered why she couldn't trust the slime. Gren humorously discussed human nature and the difficulty of trusting others fully, prompting Maria's determination to believe next time. Gren shared his long, sad dream but found hope in the end. They embraced, hearing a beautiful melody signaling their departure. Ready to leave, they reassured each other, hand in hand, heading towards a promised land where everyone awaited them, leaving behind the dream world.
That's it for today, guys, and thanks for watching the video. Stay tuned for next chapter. Until then, goodbye.